Good evening and welcome to Deakin Stadium. It's NPL Grand Final day. It's red versus blue. It's Canberra FC versus Canberra Olympic. I'm Russ Gibbs, your commentator and host for this afternoon's pre-game show. Joining me, Steve Forshaw, head coach of Belconnen Under-18. Steve, already today we've seen two grand finals. Your team was involved in one of them. You went down 1-0 to Riverina, but Belconnen Under-20s have got up 2-1 in the game we did against Monera not too long ago. We're set for this one today. How have you enjoyed the day so far?
It's been an excellent day of football. G'day, Russ. It's good to see you. The under-18 game was played with a high deal of quality and intensity, where unfortunately we lost, but congratulations to the Riverina. But in the under-20s game, we saw a really high-quality game of football where both teams went out at hammer and tongue, and Belconnen just prevailed 2-1.
We saw some excellent goalkeeping in that one. Ryan Moxon making some great saves for Monera Panthers, and Deacon Jewell as well for Belconnen United. In the end, the Blue Devils stole it with 2 goals in 3 minutes. Moving our attention to today's game, Canberra FC versus Canberra Olympic. These sides this season have been almost inseparable in what they've done. We've seen some fantastic matches between the pair. What's your initial thoughts on where it's going to go and why?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because as you suggest, these two teams have been well and truly evenly matched throughout the course of the season. I think when we saw them play last in the major semi-final, we saw Olympic get off to a flying start and race into a 3-goal lead, but that was when Danning and Ryan Keir were missing, and I think they'll make a big difference to the FC team today. So I'm expecting FC to just shade it, turn the tables. I think they'll have a stronger midfield, particularly with, and I know we'll talk about it later, Cole Bataldo missing from the Olympic lineup, but I think FC can just about shade it and pick up the treble.
Looking at the matches that they played so far this year, the FFA Cup quarter-final was 2-0 to Canberra FC, a couple of goals from Thomas James in that one. It was 1-0 here, Michael John scoring the goal in the league, and then it was 2-0 in the league decider. Marco Verkic and Kofi Danning with the goals for Canberra FC. But you mentioned the qualification final. We were here for it. Olympic got off to a fly. They were 3 up before half-time. Michael John, Dom Giampaolo, Stephen Dominici. But then a goal right before half-time from Matthew Waters gave us a contest. And after that, what we thought was going to be one-sided was anything but.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it was certainly the goal that changed momentum when they made it 3-1. And Matthew Waters, and we've said it on a number of occasions this year, is one of the unsung heroes of the FC side. He pops up with goals, his work rate's phenomenal, he's a good distributor of the ball. So he's one of the key influences on today's game. And it was, as we suggested, his game that sort of turned that corner in that last major semi-final and gave FC a fighting chance. In the end, they weren't quite able to get there, and Olympic deservedly went through to the final.
Well, this is what we're playing for, the Grand Final trophy. This has been met head-to-head 6 times between Canberra Olympic and Canberra FC down the years. Canberra Olympic lead the series 4-2. The closeness of the contest between the two, though, is emphasised by these facts. Since 1993, they've played 53 times. Canberra FC have won 18, Canberra Olympic have won 22, and there's been 13 draws. So there's never a lot between them since 1993, and we're not expecting much difference today. I wouldn't think
so. I think if I'm right and FC are to win, it will be in a close one, a tight one. But all season, the two best teams are the two teams that we'll see this evening. They deserve to be here. They've set a new standard. Olympic, of course, I think are in the 4th in a row grand final. Beaten finalists last year, so they've got something to prove. And for FC, it's a return to the sort of form that we've been used to in the last 10 to 15 years from a really strong club.
They've got a point to prove. They've lost 4 grand finals in a row, Canberra FC, before last year when they weren't in it. They used to be so good at this. This used to be their bread and butter. They used to come to these games and win them. It wouldn't be an issue. Has something changed at the club, or do you see a revival of something of that sort of fortune going around this year?
Look, I think certainly we've seen a revival. I think the last point you make is the easiest one to justify. Certainly with the introduction of the McCaw brothers into the coaching staff, that's revitalised a club that was just going a little bit stale, and the results showed that. But this year, they've recruited well. They brought Thomas James back, and he's been an absolute revelation up front for them, scoring a bag full of goals. They brought in good goalkeepers in Brown and Thurtell. Gerbish has come back from having returned from Belconnen, makes a big difference how they defend. So I think the club that was going through the doldrums is actually revitalised and are a big chance tonight.
We're going to go through the team nights very shortly. We're going to be joined by Frank Keisha and Paul Makel, the 2 head coaches, in a moment. Just before we do, Steve, just want to make one more point. We're going to talk about players who aren't here in a moment, but Robbie Katanach, big loss for Canberra Olympic. He's been out for most of the year. They've done quite well without him.
Yeah, I think at the start of the season you would have anticipated his loss as being more detrimental than it's actually turned out to be. They miss him, there is no doubt. He's a high-quality player, but they've managed to sort of overcome that, and they've introduced players like Ross Stricker, who's taken up the cudgels, Daniel Colbertaldo, who's had a wonderful season, and like we said before, missing tonight. But by and large, the loss of Katanak hasn't really impacted the club the way we might have thought at the start of the season.
Going to be joined by Frank Keisha. Do you want to just chuck your microphone to Frank there for a minute, Steve? Thanks for joining us, Frank, just before kick-off. How are the boys feeling over there at the moment?
Yeah, good. Yeah, we're ready. I mean, just see how we go now. It's all about it.
You're missing Daniel Colbertaldo. Injured his ankle a couple of weeks ago. How are you coping with that loss?
Well, I will. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a big loss for us. I mean, he's a really important player. But, you know, we've got ample backup. You know, Rocco comes into the middle. Popovic plays up top where Rocco played. So, yeah, look, I think we can cover it.
Fifth time you've played Canberra FC this season.
Yeah.
You obviously know each other like the back of your hands. How'd you win this game today?
Look, I think you just stick to the things that we've done really well all season, especially in the back end of the season. You know, the way we played in that game a couple of weeks back will be the blueprint for how we go about it today.
And finally, they've taken your trophies off you this year. You've had a good run of them over the last few years. Is there an element of sort of revenge for the boys that are thinking, well, we lost the league, we've lost the FFA Cup qualifiers, we really want to make up for this one today?
No, look, I mean, there could be that, but, I mean, I haven't played up that card at all. I've just been basically concentrating on winning the game, and, you know, obviously we know that there's silver at the end of it, and if we're good enough, then we'll get our hands on it.
Thanks very much, Frank. Good luck today. We'll just bring in Paul Makor. He's just having a chat over there off camera at the moment. Thank you. Hey, Paul, welcome to the show, and thanks for joining us just before kickoff. How are your boys looking? Are they looking pretty sharp?
Yeah, no, we've had a few boys that have come through the fitness tests, so we've got a full squad.
Ryan Keir missed a couple of games for you with injury. Big part of your midfield. How important is it to you have him back in the squad tonight?
Ryan's an integral part of our squad, but just like every other player is, what I always say is that if one of the 11 aren't starting, it gives another boy an opportunity to play, but Ryan's 100% fit, so he's ready to go. We see Michael Mensah come into your lineup. Wasn't involved at the start of the season last few weeks, and he's been banging in the goals. He's been a great find for you, considering he probably wasn't part of your plans at the start of the year. No, Michael actually was part of the coaching staff. As we all know, Michael was actually played in the last 2 seasons, and the season that I was here before, he was playing in the sweeper role. He was always getting red carded every second week. So I said, Mika, I'm going to put you up front. He goes, well, that's my natural position. So we just went from strength on strength. Sam Brown gets the nod between the sticks today ahead of Jordan Thirdsell. How difficult a decision was that for you? No, it wasn't difficult at all. As you know, I do 1 week off, 1 week on. Everyone always remembers the person's last game, and Brownie's last game wasn't that crash hot, but if everyone remembers his game against Gungahlin in the FFA Cup, he was solid as. Well, good luck today, Paul. Thanks for taking time out to join us today, and enjoy the game. No worries. Thank you very much. Paul Makor and Frank Keisha there, head coaches of the two respective sides. Let's take a closer look at the two teams, Steve. We're going to start with Canberra Olympic. They've gone with Angelo Constantinu in goal. Their back forwards, Tim Bobolas, Nick Bobolas, Nathan Medjic and Josh Calabria. The absence of Daniel Colbertaldo sees Tom McLaughlin and Rocco Stricker in those holding midfield roles. Front four of Dom Gianpaolo, Nick Popovic, Stephen Dominici and Michael John. We expect that to be pretty fluid.
Yeah, that's a very, very good lineup, isn't it? Very strong going forward, solid at the back, and the return of Constantinu from overseas in the major semi-final was a significant improvement for them because he does add some stability and some confidence to the way they defend. I'm expecting them to come out blazing and having a real crack at this. They've got the firepower to actually score goals, so if FC aren't on their game, you can expect that Olympic will push them all the way.
Canberra FC, for their part, Sam Brown will start in goal. Aidan Brunskill, Daniel Sabisic, Matt Gerbischer and Ivan Pavlak, they're settled back four. Thomas James, Ian Graham, Ryan Keir and Matt Waters, Michael Mensah and Kofi Danning. No real surprises.
No, and pretty orthodox 4-4-2, and that's what they've played all year. Mensah has done really well since he come in, and he offers that sort of big body presence as a target up front. Kofi Danning working off him has been an absolute revelation this season. And then Thomas James and Matt Waters, and a very strong midfield and Gerbischer-led back four. Two very evenly matched teams with a lot of quality on display.
So we're not expecting anything too different from what we saw last week with Canberra FC when they beat Tigers 5-0?
It'll be very, very similar. I should imagine that they would expect, or they would be hoping for a similar sort of result as well. The difference, of course, is in the standard of the opposition. With all due respect to Tigers, Olympic are a much stronger outfit, as they showed in the catch-up game when they put 7 past them in the league. So I'm expecting a closer game than the 5-0 scoreline last week, but a good game in which both teams have their chance.
Let's take a closer look at 4 of the key players this afternoon, starting with Matt Gerbisher from Canberra FC. Instrumental at the back, solid defender. His return this season has coincided with their rise up the table and the league championship status.
And it's no coincidence that that's the case. Matt Gerbisher, when he was at Belconnen for the last couple of seasons, was instrumental in any success they had. He's an organiser, he's a leader, he's a genuinely good footballer. He's not just a defender. I mean, he'll pop up with the odd goal as well in the opposition box. He's a threat from set pieces. But it's his leadership and his ability to actually use the ball that will make the difference today.
Did score an absolute cracker of a goal in the FFA Cup qualifying final against Gungahlin. That little chip over the goalkeeper from an acute angle, so he has got the ability to find the net.
Oh, yes, and he's not the only one in the FC team that can. But Matty Gerbisher, he seems to have been around forever, but he's still, early 30s or late 20s. And has got some years in front of him, but he's been one of Canberra's better performers for a long, long time. I expect no different today.
Speaking of goals, plenty of them from the boots of Thomas James. 24 in all competitions this year, 19 in the league, 5 in the cup. This guy is a game changer. He could be the difference today.
He can. He's one of those sort of moody players that if he doesn't turn up, he can be a bit of a liability. But on his game is an absolute match winner, and he's shown that time and time again. I think he's enjoyed the environment here at FC, Deakin Oval, under the McCaw brothers, and I'm expecting him to turn up today and really show us what he can do. And I think he's one of the few players in the local competition that might press on and play at a higher level.
Quick look at the Canberra Olympic. Couple of players to watch there. Michael John, their main goal getter, 11 goals, was left out for the league championship decider. Came back, scored in the qualification final. Did his side proud.
Yeah, and I think, he came into that game in the semi-final with a point to prove, and he certainly made his point. He finished his goal well. There goes your...
I knew we'd get one eventually.
But he's been consistently on the score sheet all season. He's been one of Olympic's better players, and he's certainly one of the go-to men for Olympic today.
Nathan Medjic, their stopper, integral part of their side. When we watched the league championship decider, Michael Mensah gave Nick Boblis a torrid time. In the qualification match here a couple of weeks later, Medjic was tasked with helping Boblis with Mensah. Mensah was a lot quieter. He's rock solid at the back, but he's got some good distribution as well.
Yeah, he's an all-round good player, and if Gerbisher adds that sort of quality to the FC back four, then Medjic is the one that does the same for Olympic. Really interesting comparison between the two players. Gerbisher, with all that experience and local competitions, has done so well for FC and for Belconnen, and Medjic, who brings that little bit of overseas experience as well since he's returned to Canberra. Very good player, very good defender, good with the ball as you suggest, and somebody else that's got 1 or 2 goals in him.
Quick look at the benches. Michael Reeve, Ollie Wiedeke, Bernard Brenet, Ali Sarwan and Mason Interlandi for Olympic. For FC, Jordan Thurtell, Christian Pradesina, Ross Costanzo, Jordan Lamb and Marco Verkic. There's options on the bench for both teams, and it may come down to that in the end.
Oh, look, it's a squad game. There is no doubt about it, and the grand final won't be won by the starting 11, or the starting 11 won't, I don't think, finish the game anyway. I think the bench that Olympic have got has got bags of pace, got bags of experience. The FC bench brings in a little bit of youth that have broke into the starting 11 this year and done really well. So could well be decided by the boys that come on late in the game.
Kickoff is rapidly approaching, Steve. We'll have to get up to the commentary Britain very shortly. But before I do go, I'm going to put you on the spot right now. We've watched these teams all season. Who wins today and why?
Well, I said earlier on that I thought FC might shade it, and I think because their midfield is strengthened, they won't start as badly as they did in the major semi-final, and I'm expecting because of that they will see the game out more strongly than Olympic can, and I'm tipping them with Thomas James to score at least once.
Thanks very much, Steve. You'll join me in commentary very shortly. Crowd's building here. It's going to be a great afternoon of MPL finals football. This season, we've seen plenty of action and plenty of goals between these two sides. While we make a contribution and get ourselves up to the commentary box for a little bit later on, let's take a look at some of the best ones that have gone in between these two teams this year. who's really settled into this team. Danning, nice control by Kofi Danning, as you'd expect from a former A-League footballer. And then loses out to Magic, who's very strong on the ball. Now Gianpaolo slides John in. Opportunity here for Michael John, bearing down on goal! And Michael John gives Canberra Olympic the lead. And an Eric finish when he got in, the leading goal scorer with his 6th of the season. FC 0, Olympic 1. 4th for Gerbischer. Danning's peeled away. Verkic is in there, but Colbertaldo wins it, and that's brilliant from Marco Verkic. Still going. Opportunity here for Lamb. Tries to get it onto his left foot. It's back for Verkic, and he scores! It's Marco Verkic, the player who perhaps wouldn't have been in the lineup if Thomas James had been here, and he strikes first blood. Canberra FC lead to come on and add something to this attack. Here's Brunskill.
Yeah,
here's Brunskill again. Ed Brunskill. Danning arriving in the area. Kofi Danning! A second goal for Canberra FC. And it's the former A-League star that gets it. His 7th in all competitions, and it's a major, major goal. Definitely one hand on the title for Canberra FC. Looking for the runner outside him. It's Calabria who's danced forward. It might come for Michael John here. Real opportunity, and Canberra Olympic lead. And it's what their early players deserved. They've carved FC open, and Michael John, returning to the starting lineup, as he did here in the league match, gives Olympic the lead. And bit of a dawdle in the back from Olympic, but they work it out eventually. Tim Bobolis looks for the runner Gianpaolo. Brown's come and stopped, and he's come again, and he's missed it. And Dom Gianpaolo is surely going to make it 2-0. He can't miss from there. A calamity at the back from Canberra FC, and Canberra Olympic a 2 to the good. Here's Gianpaolo owning Deakin Stadium this evening with his quality. Stricker. John, nice touch. He's got Dominici outside him if he finds him. Here's David Dominici. That's 3-0. Canberra Olympic are almost home and hosed in the last minute of the first half. It's turning into a rout. Here's James. Chance again to swing it in from Waters in towards the far post. Here's Lamb. Denied by Gianpaolo. Waters sleds it forward, gets it back again. Matt Waters with the drive, and that's in off the post. There's one back. Maybe it's not all over yet. Matt Waters in stoppage time. A glimmer of hope for those in red. Keir asks James to get on his bike and does. And look at Mensah, completely unmarked in the middle. If he can find him, here's Michael Mensah. Big moment in the game. Michael Mensah with a superb finish. Game on at Deakin. It's 3-2.
Still looking for that equaliser that might take this game past the 90-minute mark.
Well, we've got 7 minutes plus stoppage time. Here's Stricker getting on the end of this. Rocco Stricker, he's got away here. Here's a real chance for Olympic to seal it. Rocco Stricker scores. And Canberra Olympic have their 4th. And that could be enough to send them to the grand final.
They kept him relatively quiet. And although FC have certainly had the better of the second half.
Well, here they come. Waters looking to swing it towards the far post. Here's a chance. Here's a goal back. It's a super header from Daniel Subasic. In off the underside of the crossbar. Brilliant goal. That's like a centre-forward strike. Perhaps it's not all over.
Look, I'm putting the microphone down. I'm sitting down. I'm just going to watch the rest. This is unbelievable.
Here's Stricker, runs his man. Here's an opportunity for Olympic to seal it once and for all. Rocco Stricker goes down. That must be a penalty. It is. No choice but to award the spot kick. Here he goes. Rocco Stricker puts Canberra Olympic into the grand final. Thumps it down the middle. Brown, no chance. Runs to the bench to celebrate. And Canberra Olympic are definitely there now. It's 5-3. Welcome to Deakin Stadium. It's MPL Grand Final Day. It's Canberra Olympic versus Canberra FC. It is the showdown that we expected. It's two teams that have scored buckets of goals all season. I hope you enjoyed the pre-game show. A bit of build-up there. If you missed it, we'll go through the teams again very shortly. I'm Russ Gibbs, your commentator. Joining me, as he has for most of the season, is Steve Forshaw. Steve, we've seen some great games between these sides this season. We alluded to it in the pre-game show. We're expecting a cracker today.
Absolutely. Two evenly matched sides, full of jam-packed with quality. will play with the intensity that a grand final demands. There's not a struck match between them. I think this is the 5th time they've played each other this year, and it's, in my recollection, it's 2 apiece. So this is not only a grand final decider, this is the decider for the year. And this is a culmination of what has been probably the most competitive season that we've seen in Canberra for quite some time. So I'm really looking forward to what will be a really good game.
They've met each other, as I mentioned, 6 times in grand finals. The last 3 times that these sides have been paired up, it's Olympic that have come out on top. 2-0 in 2013 with a couple of goals from Robbie Schroeder in extra time. 3-1 in 2015 also at McKellar. Robbie Cadnach with a couple and Daniel Colbertaldo after Thomas James had scored after 42 seconds. Very, very quick goal there. And of course in 2016 at Deakin here, 3-0, Daniel Colbertaldo, an own goal and Catanach. Means nothing in the scheme of things, but psychologically for Canberra Olympic, knowing that they've had the wood on them over the last couple of times they've played, that's got to be some sort of bonus.
Well, they'll certainly be confident because they know they can match FC. They know they can match them on the big occasion as they've proven in the past. But FC have a proud record as well in terms of winning things in Canberra. And this season, they've been the dominant force. So I think whatever's happened in the past certainly psychologically might give Olympic a boost. But on current form, FC look to have the wood on them. Although having said that, they're pretty closely matched.
Let's not forget FC are on for a treble. They won the League Championship, won the FFA Cup qualifiers. Here they are looking for that treble. It's something that Canberra Olympic achieved themselves a couple of seasons ago. They were denied it last year by Belconnen. Otherwise it would have been a double treble, if you like. As it is, we're looking forward to this game this afternoon. The teams will be out with us very shortly. I mentioned that since 1993 there's been nothing between them. There's been 18 wins for FC, 22 from Olympic, 13 draws, 78 goals from FC, 71 from Olympic. These two sides have really been, alongside Belconnen, the standard bearers of football in Canberra, particularly over the last few years.
Yes, they have. And, that hasn't changed in season 2018. We went down to the very last game of the season to separate them at the top of the table, and we're at the very last game of the semi-final series to separate them in the grand final. Of course, for Olympic, no matter what happens, it's the end of the road, but they may go home with the trophy in the kit bag. For FC, they've got another game next weekend when they take on Campbelltown from South Australia in the NPL Challenge. So they've got that to look forward to no matter what happens today.
There's your teams in the tunnel. Canberra Olympic in blue shirts, blue shorts and white socks. Canberra FC in their traditional red shirts, white shorts and blue socks. The sun is setting here in Canberra, but I'm sure it's going to set the place ablaze tonight. The floodlights are on. It's grand final time. I remember distinctly a 2011 grand final under floodlights here, which finished 8-5 to Canberra FC. Paul Evenich with 3 goals, 1 from the penalty spot. Stephen Lee from 2. Ivan Pavlak, Marcus Bleder and Johnny Glass. Canberra Olympic scored 5 themselves. Robbie Dealey with a hat-trick. Daniel Banach with 2. Robbie Dealey missed a penalty. Robbie Schroeder was sent off. It had everything that game. There's a feeling in the air that we could be in for something very similar this evening.
That would take some beating, though. That would take some beating. I'm expecting a close game, but I don't think we're going to get cricket scores. I think, either team could win it. I'm tipping the FC team, but I think it could be the best in 5. The 3-2, something like that. A goal in it.
We're expecting goals. They know they can score goals. It's a big day for everyone involved. It's a big day for the officials as well, led by referee Gary Vanderbert. Assistants Owen Goldrick and Greg Taylor. 4th official Adam Powers. It's probably the best 4 officials we've got in Canberra at the moment, Steve, and they're leading the teams out onto the playing field. And
we say it every time, don't we? I mean, congratulations on their appointment to the grand final. It is an honour for the referees as well. But we want a game that is decided by the players and not by a controversial moment. And I'm sure with the experience that these guys bring, that will be the case.
Let's look at the two teams. Canberra Olympic first. In goal, Angelo Constantinou. Right back, Tim Bobolus. Left back, Josh Calabria. In the middle, Nathan Medjic and Nick Bobolus. Midfielders, Tom McLaughlin and Rocco Stricker, supposedly holders. Dom Gianpaolo and Stephen Dominici wide. Nick Popovic in between those. And Michael John as a lone front runner. But we expect to see all sorts of movement between those front 4.
I would have thought so. I mean, you mentioned it in the pre-game show that it would be a fluid front 4. I think that's going to be the case. I would expect Michael John to occupy one of the wider areas for some part of the game with Dominici and or Popovic playing through the middle. But they've got the players that are versatile enough to play different roles within the team, and we'll see some of that tonight.
Canberra FC. In goal, Sam Brown. They're back four, Aiden Brunskill, Daniel Subasic, Matt Gerbischer and Ivan Pavlak. Midfield four, Thomas James, Ian Graham, the skipper, Ryan Keir and Matt Waters. Up front, Michael Mensah and Kofi Danning. It's a 4-4-2 formation of which we've been pretty seen most of for all of the season, Steve. No surprises there. We're expecting a very solid team from front to back.
Yeah, and it's a slightly different team that lined up in the semi-final and was soundly beaten by the Olympic side 5-3. And the return of Danning and Ryan Keir are significant inclusions for the FC squad tonight.
Well, the side's getting pumped. The crowd is filling up very nicely indeed. There's quite a few on this camera side as well. The main grandstand over there is fairly full. Good cue for the Kransky line, it looks as well, Stephen. The Chivapi rolls. Did you get any before the game?
I managed to slip into a steak sandwich, yes.
Excellent, good work. Always good food here at Deakin Stadium.
It really is a good venue, isn't it? The pitch looks in immaculate condition and floodlights on creates the atmosphere for us. And as you suggest, the crowd just filing in quite nicely to make this a really well-attended event.
The noise from the Canberra Olympic FC fans usually comes from our immediate left in the commentary positions. There's a big checkered red and white flag being waved there. The Canberra Olympic fans gathered in the stands in front of us to the immediate left, as the away fans tend to. Nick Bobolas and Ian Graham doing the formalities in the middle of the park. And our four match officials getting ready to get us underway. Looks like as we were in terms of lining up, and big day today for everybody involved, and both goalkeepers as well might have a big part to play. Angelo Constantinu for Olympic and Sam Brown for Canberra FC. Yeah,
two keepers that have done really well all year. I mean, you were talking to Paulie McCaw in the pre-game show, and he was indicating that they've gone to a sort of rotation system this year, and they haven't been let down by either Thurtell or Brown. And Constantinu is an absolute fixture between the sticks for Olympic, and he does add that level of experience that perhaps they were missing when he was overseas.
2-2, Steve said, in games played this season. This is the deciding one, and it is for the main trophy, the NPL Grand Final. It is Canberra Olympic to kick us off. Attacking the goal to our right in this first half, Stephen Dominici is going to have the first kick of the ball. He's been a revelation since he's come back from Wollongong, as we expected him to. Always full of goals, Dominici. He gets us underway, and Olympic will be looking for the sort of start they got here a couple of weeks ago when they came out of the blocks flying. Early ball forwards is for Dominici to chase. Subasic is with him. Dominici tries to get past the tall young central defender who's had a standout season this year for FC. Needs to be important today, I think, Subasic, alongside the experience of Gerbischer.
Yeah, and you'd expect Matty Gerbischer to nurse him through the first few minutes until he finds his feet. But he's won his first challenge, and that'll help to settle his nerves if there are any.
James finds Keir. First touch of the evening for Pavlak. The shadows lengthen across Deakin Stadium. Gerbischer.
Notice that a lot of them are wearing black armbands. Do we know what that's for?
I don't. We'll try and find out. We'll send our roving crew across to try and find out what that's all about. Here's Gerbischer. Pavlak. Gerbischer again. It's a measured build-up from FC. They don't want to fall foul of what happened here a couple of weeks ago.
And it certainly looks like Olympic have gone with the pretty orthodox 4-3-3 with two holders and Gianpaolo playing as the 10.
McLaughlin's header loses out to Graham. Here's Danning. Couldn't quite squeeze the ball out wide to Thomas James. As I said, 24 goals this season for Thomas James. It's a great return in all competitions.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, he's been by far and away, if not the best player, then certainly one of them.
Calabria with the throw. John helped it on its way, but just in front of the Ivan Bullen stance.
And Michael John has taken up that wider position with Dominici through the middle, which is sort of what we expected.
Expected that off air, isn't it? It's not what we were given, but that's what we expected. That's a raking ball out wide for Waters. First touch for him, and Tim Bobolas makes sure it's a very brief one. Whips it off his toe. Yeah. Threatened to rain earlier, didn't it? But it looks quite clear now.
Yeah, look, it's perfect for football. It's a bit chilly, but the players won't mind that. And as I was saying before, the pitch is in immaculate condition, and no excuses at all for the players to not play some decent football.
McLaughlin up towards Dominici. Can't bring it in, and Gerbischer Finds Brunskill. Lost count the amount of grand finals that Aidan Brunskill's played in over the years.
Oh, yeah.
Been a real stalwart for Canberra FC.
I think you'd like a fiver for everyone who's played in, that's for sure.
Been a fair few, isn't there?
Yeah.
Subasic finds Waters over the top. Matt Waters, first opportunity, but it was on his wrong foot, really, on his right-hand side, and he tried the lob, and it came off the side of the foot. That's the first opening of the match for Waters. Ghosted in, couldn't take advantage.
It's a fantastic run because he's playing wider on the left-hand side and he's been able to get inside and go through the middle and catch the Olympic, certainly the central defenders, square and gets in behind. And he really might have done better with that first opportunity of the evening.
If that had been on his left foot, might have been a different outcome. But a warning for Canberra Olympic if they needed one. Here's Mensah. Physical presence, as always. James out wide. A little bit of space. Goes at Calabria, but Stricker gets in the way. Scored twice in the qualification final later on, Rocco Stricker, to really secure Olympics' place in the final and had the week off. Here's Waters. They've not started as sharply as they did that day, have they?
No, and FC have sort of come out of the blocks a little bit better, haven't they? Oh.
Well, Calabria and James are coming together, and was there a kick out from James there at Calabria as he went past him?
I think there was
interesting
just a roll
call straight away here.
Yeah.
There was a definite foul by Calabria, but was there some afters from Thomas James?
I think it was just accidental contact as they both fell over, but some intent there shown by the Olympic club about how they might be dealing with Thomas James this evening.
Here's the replay. Let's have a look. There's the challenge, and that was a bit late from Calabria. And there's a little bit of a flick at the boot there, isn't there?
Not much in it, but there was certainly something there.
Gary Vanderbert not getting any comment off of Greg Taylor, closest to us on this near side, so probably sensible. Just let it go through.
Yeah, but obviously it's something that needs to be clamped down on early by the referee. That was a reckless challenge by the Olympic fullback.
Very late,
Thomas,
wasn't it?
And it was really about letting Thomas James know that he's going to be in a game, but it's the sort of thing that can actually mar the game, and if the referee doesn't stamp that out early, then we could end up with a lot of niggle.
Subasic takes the free kick. Here's Waters, who had that early opening. He goes down under Popovic's challenge, and he wins a free kick as well.
In the first 5 minutes, I think it's fair to say that FC have had the better start, and they've certainly had the one and only chance, and it was a decent one.
Well, they're going to get a chance here, Steve, because Thomas James is pretty good at these set-piece situations. And he'll lift that in there. Ryan Keir is the closest to us in the red shirts.
Yeah, Mens has been really good in the air from situations like this.
James swings in. Good looking one too. Constantinu comes. Two-fisted punch. Waters gets there ahead of John. Graham couldn't squeeze it over the head of Stricker. Now can Olympic break. Only Dominici ahead of Stricker. Goes himself. Lanky run from Stricker. Still going. And he goes down under the challenge of Graham. And there's no foul, says referee Gary Vanderbert. Bit of feeling to this now after a fairly pedestrian couple of opens, and that one's late as well from Ian Graham, and he's going in the book for sure. And that one's riled up the Canberra Olympic players, and if we thought we were going to get a feisty final, we certainly have now. There's a bit of push and shove as well. Michael Mensah getting involved.
Michael Mensah's got involved for no apparent reason.
Wasn't a good challenge from Ian Graham, was it?
It was a terrible challenge late, and I think it was a little bit of payback for what was going on earlier on, and this is why the referee needs to clamp down early on those sorts of things. But it does add a little bit of passion to the encounter.
It was a loose one, and this is just after the replay. That was just after the challenge. It was Medjic, I think, who got absolutely cleaned out by Graham. There's a definite free kick and a definite yellow card, and thought we were going to be in for a tasty evening.
Yeah. So there's Ian Graham getting his yellow card, and that puts him on the tightrope now because his game is built around being able to break things down.
Here it is, Steve. Mensah lost possession, and Medjic's touch was heavy. It invited the challenge, didn't it? And Graham's gone for the ball, and Medjic's got there first. And it's looked, actually, to be honest, it's looked a lot worse in the replay because he's gone for the ball, hasn't he, but not got anywhere near it.
Yeah. But he,
deserved yellow.
Oh, look, I don't think we can argue with that.
Here's Calabria. Swings it in. Gerbish's header is away as far as Bobolis. That's Tim Bobolis, the younger of the pair. Popovic. Pavlak across. Good to see Popovic out there, considering that a few weeks ago in the League Championship decider, when he went down injured, we thought that might be his season.
Yeah, and he's suffered from injuries over the last few years as well. But Ivan Pavlak a very important part of how FC go about their business tonight.
Tim Bobolas into the penalty area. Gerbisher away. Here's Mensah. Nice touch. He's slowing the play down. Finds Simicic. 3 goals this season for the central defender. We've seen a couple of them live on Bar TV Sports, including an absolute specky here in a game against Tuggeranong, wasn't there?
It was the lob of the century, wasn't it?
And he scored a header any centre forward would have been proud of in the 5-3 qualification loss to Olympic. Briefly gave them hope at 4-3 with a minute to go. FC on the front foot. Aidan Brunskill with the throw. Waters.
Got a roving commission at the moment, Matt Waters.
Yeah, interesting. He's been all over the park so far, hasn't he?
And Tom James has come wide on this left-hand side.
Gerbisher. Keir. Graham. It's a bit short, and John might get there ahead of Brunskill. Brunskill shows his strength and tenacity. Waters. And Stricker gets a foot in.
Stricker's made a good start. Really good start. He's helping out the fullback Calabria on that far side. He's won or intercepted a couple of things now. And he's made that dynamic run that took him deep into the FC half. He's made a very good start to the game.
It's been a decent opening 9 minutes or so. No score. Live on Bar TV Sports, MPL Grand Final. Canberra FC versus Canberra Olympic. Ball forward for Mensah. Holds off the challenge. Gets a shot in on the turn, but there's no pace on it. Second effort, though, always rising, and that's off into the housing estate behind the goal.
That's still rising, I think. It's still right. I mean, Michael Mensah, very experienced player, and he wants to test the keeper as early as he can in these sorts of games. But Thomas James was in a much, much better position to actually keep possession, and then, yeah.
He's gone for the spectacular, isn't he?
Yes.
It's not quite come off for him on that occasion. We've seen him score some spectacular goals this season. Weighed in with 5 in the last 6 or 7 games, which is a good return, considering I spoke to Paul Maker in the pre-match that he didn't expect him to be in the side.
No,
he was. To Michael Tarazi's given him a chance.
Yeah, he was certainly earmarked for an assistant coach's role, and then started working with the 20s, and then got his chance, and he's taken it with both hands.
Here's James running at Bobolas. Tim Bobolas has seen that plenty of times this season.
Timmy Bobolas handles Thomas James as well as anybody in the competition.
Well, have you just cursed him, Steve? Here is James.
Yep.
Stands up Bobolas.
Got him.
Swings it in towards Graham, who got away from his marker, but Constantini was there. Gets us underway very quickly, but Dominici won't keep that in. That's standard commentator's curse there, Steve.
Got me again.
It's been an interesting season, isn't it? It's been a season of plenty of goals, plenty of surprises. Maybe at the start of the year, if you'd said which two would be in the grand final, it would probably been these two. But perhaps not in the manner in which we expected them both to get it. Here's James, and he is absolutely skinned Tim Bobolas into the penalty, and down he goes. Big shout here, and the referee gives a goal kick. Wow. Be interesting to see that again.
Certainly Thomas James does Tim Bobolas too easily there for the Olympics' liking, but it looked a clumsy challenge on the edge of the area and may well have been a penalty had the free kick been given.
Well, we'll check the replay out in just a moment. Constantinu with the goal kick. It's come off Popovic. First big real talking point, I guess, of the grand final. Thomas James went down under the challenge.
I must say that Gary Vanderberg was in a very good position to make the decision. So
he gave himself some thinking time as well, didn't he? Here's Popovic. Loses that to Gerbisher. Now Keir. Shame we haven't got the replay of that one at some stage. It's Waters. Brunskill. Now Gerbisher. To be honest, there wasn't much protestation from James, was there?
No. It may well be that there was a touch on the ball and back onto James to send it out for the goal kick. So the referee, like I said, he was in a good position. There was a lot of crowd excitement.
Certainly was. Look for a moment. We might have had our first big decision, and as you said, well done Gary Vanderberg for taking his time, and he was Johnny on the spot. Here's Dominici. McLaughlin. going to be a throw for Olympic off of Ian Graham.
Yeah, Thomas James tracking the run of Timmy Bobolus there, and the sort of work rate that they're going to need from Thomas James today. Both going forward, going backwards. He's going to have to work.
Gianpaolo. He saw something spectacular there, didn't he? In the end, it's turned out to be a decent pass to Michael John.
Yes, both he and Mensah won't be looking to see those again on the highlights reel, that's for sure.
Well, he saw it set up, and you've seen him score from that sort of range before.
Oh, he's got it in the repertoire, but it certainly wasn't there today.
Mentioned it in the qualification final a couple of weeks ago, Steve. When Dom Gianpaolo plays well, so does Canberra Olympic.
He certainly adds value to their midfield. He's a very creative player, but, like Thomas James, he can fade in and out of games, and they'll need him to be in the game for long periods tonight to get the most out of him.
Diving header from Subasic.
So after a really good start by the Reds, the Blues are just slowly working themselves into it.
It's 0-0 in the NPL Grand Final in Canberra. As the light fades, the floodlights will take full effect. Here's Calabria, beaten to it by Brunskill. McLaughlin with the header. Danning roving deep, and that one's out towards us in the stands. Amongst the crowd to our right.
A lot of the successful Belcon and under-20s boys in there, getting a touch of the match ball.
Enjoying themselves. Watching the grand final. Maybe some of them will be in it themselves next year. There's Dominici turning and twisting. Looking to get away from Subasic, and he couldn't do so. Here's that battle between Mensah and Bobolus. And Bobolus has been penalised for pulling him back.
It's a battle of the physical giants, isn't it, that? And Mensah, as you said, in the last game of the season when they won 2-0, got the better of Bobolus. But in the semi-final, Magic sort of had him in his pocket.
Here's Kier. Subasic. Walters made the run, but that was too easy for Calabria. Gianpaolo. Stricker gets a toe in, but only finds James. Danning, all coming together between Stricker and James. Kier. Bobolus gets in front, and here's Popovic. Now is there a break on? Dominici's peeled away. Pavlak's done just enough to slow it down. Here is Dominici. Bobolus. Dominici, Popovic wants it. In behind, and he's in here, Nick Popovic. And tried to squeeze it past Brunskill, but didn't get enough on it.
Brunskill did just enough to put him off, but that's a good move by Olympic, getting the ball forward quickly.
Danning helps it on. Here's Mensah, bullocking his way past the Olympic cover. James. He's got Waters. Left foot curler, but always fading away from goal.
It was, but it wasn't a bad idea, was it? I mean, he saw Constantinu slightly off his line. And has just tried to place it beyond him. Unfortunate, didn't quite get it on target, but a good idea.
Bright opening from both teams. Here it is again from Waters. Constantinu not worried by that.
In the end, well wide.
Just over a quarter of an hour gone, live on Bar TV Sports. No goals. NPL Grand Final, Canberra Olympic v Canberra FC. Here's Stricker. Popovic peels away. Now Bobolus is with him. It's briefly 2 against 1 here, but he's rushed it, rather.
Yeah, that was... although Stricker had continued his run and he was looking to find him, that was well overweighted and gave him no chance. An easy sort of collect for the keeper.
Perhaps should have waited for Bobolus on the overlap. Could have created a lopsided 2-on-1 here for a moment.
Yeah, certainly Bobolus was on his bike and trying to get past him.
Sam Brown seems to be in no hurry. Here's Subasic. Looks for Mensah. Wins a header well. It's going to break for Kofi Danning. Chance for Kofi Danning. Still going, and he dawdles a bit too much, wanting one touch too many. And was denied by Magic.
First touch wasn't up to scratch, was it? Otherwise, he's in with a real opportunity. Mensah does extremely well with the long ball from Subasic to knock it into Danning's path. And Danning, I think, should do better.
Yeah, his first touch was okay, but then he took another when the shot was probably on there. And in the end, that's some good defensive work by Nathan Magic covering. We lost another ball, Steve. We're going to be out of match ball soon. Waters is tasked with the corner. Chance for the left footer to really whip this one in and test the pink-clad Angelo Constantinou in goal. Swings it in towards the far post. Mensah's there with a header. Didn't get enough power on it. And Constantinou fires it very quick upfield, but is only really giving the ball back to Pavlak.
I'd be a little bit worried if I was Frank Keisha on the fact that Mensah is winning too many balls in the air. So they've either got to cut it down at source, certainly from free play, or they've got to get more defenders around him when the ball comes in from set pieces.
Two of Canberra's more cerebral coaches on the bench today. They like to think their tactics through, and I'm sure they've fed up with each other this season, to be honest, aren't they? There's not much they can do that they haven't already seen from each other.
No, there won't be any secrets. Not too many surprises.
Here's Stricker. Magic. They sit forward. Good ball too. Finds Popovic. Nice touch, but that's heavy from Gianpaolo. Sabasic. James. Brunskill. You surprised that Popovic went backwards there? If he'd taken that in his stride forwards, there seemed to be a bit of space.
He was found nicely, wasn't he? And he was in a nice hole, and he could have gone forward. Although there wasn't much in front of him that he could have used as support.
Dominici. It does well. Well, he's got Gianpaolo up front. He's got Popovic with him as well, but has to cut back on himself, Stephen Dominici. Still going. Got past one, but couldn't get past Graham. Now it's Thomas James's turn. And he looks for Mensah. And a vital touch from Nick Bobolis.
Yeah, it's a good header. It's a good header.
Space for Stricker.
This game's opened up completely.
Gianpaolo. Looked for John, but hadn't made the run.
No, it's an average piece of distribution.
James.
Dom Gianpaolo's last two involvements have been below par for him.
Caught late in the middle of the field.
There's a little bit of that going on, isn't there?
Yeah, Ryan Keir this time left in a heap on the ground after the ball was played. Referee Gary Vanderbilt has got his comms on today with Greg Taylor and Owen Goldrick, and I'm sure Adam Powers is getting an earful from both sets of benches over there as a fourthie.
Worst job in the world, isn't it?
He's the one that cops it all when it's the referee and the linesman that make the decisions. Ivan Pavlak over the free kick. Lifts it into the area, and there's a foul on Tim Bobolis, who goes down clutching his face. Gary Vanderbilt saw it. It's got that little undertone, a bit fractious, doesn't it?
It has, and it just needs to settle down. If we're going to get a football spectacle, we need it to settle down a little bit and just get the ball on the floor and play.
It's understandable, as we said, though, between two teams that have seen an awful lot of each other, not just this year, but over the last couple of years as well.
Well, that's right. I mean, you either do it through intimidation or somebody steps up and does something we haven't seen before, and at the moment, we get in a mixture of both.
Well, neither side are going to take a backward step, that's for sure. There's no shrinking violets out there, are there?
No.
Here's Stricker. Nice ball that towards Gianpaolo. Good touch to open it up. Dom Gianpaolo from distance! And it fades just wide of the goal with Sam Brown scrambling. Good effort from the former FC striker.
It's a fantastic ball in. His first touch was excellent, and it's made up for the last two involvements where he's just made a bit of a mess of things. But once he gets free and he hits it, he has Brown scrambling across to his left-hand post, and it was only just wide. Great effort, and Olympics' best chance of the game.
That's what he's got in his locker, Dom Gianpaolo. Hasn't scored as many as he would have liked this season. He has got 7, though, which is not a bad return from someone who plays a lot deeper than the main striker.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable sort of return. But I think, in a 16-game season, you're not going to get much more than that. But
especially with other players around him having scored goals as well, like Michael John with 11, Stephen Dominici with 7, and I'm sure Nick Popovic would have a lot more than his 3 had he been playing for most of the season. That's his touch. Pavlak finds Gerbischer. Danning loses out to Tim Bobolis. Now here's Popovic. Chance for him to go forward. Ball into the area. Dominici's there. Tries to help it on to John on the turn, and you can see what was in his mind. He didn't quite execute it, though.
I think Timmy Bobolis might have a problem. He's heavily strapped, and he's just been waving to the bench. He may just have a bit of a problem. But that was a half chance for Michael John, where he's just had a snapshot, not quite got onto it how he would have liked, and it's rolled past the post, but Olympic starting to show some initiative here.
Spotter's badge for you, Steve, as Bernard Rene is getting ready on the bench, I can see from here. So maybe Tim Bobolas is struggling. Frank Keisha mentioned in the warm-up that Tim has been struggling a little bit in training this week. It was his brother Nick that had the injury a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it, that we thought at half-time in the league decider?
He's strapped up like a racehorse at the moment, Timmy Bobolas, and heavily strapped on both legs, and I think his race is run.
Well, Rene's off and warming up down the touchline. Meanwhile, here's Michael John running at the FC defence and wins his team a corner. It's a piece in the match programme that I actually penned myself that mentions Michael John bags of pace, but he's got that trickery and that low centre of gravity as well that causes problems.
Yeah, to defender's nightmare, because he does like running at people and he can take people on and he can finish. So, yeah, a bit of an X factor is our MJ.
Gianpaolo with the corner, swings it into the danger zone. Gerbischer wins the header. Waters is there to complete the clearance, and Timmy Bobolas, you can see, is an absolute passenger at the moment. He can't run, but what he can do is deliver a reasonable ball in towards the area, and Popovic was challenging. Now, if FC have seen this, they need to get some cover down here for Tim Bobolas, don't they? Because if they come down this wing, they're in all sorts of trouble. I'm surprised he doesn't go down.
He's got to sit down. He's got to sit down. I mean, he's a liability at the moment. But the ball's out of play anyway, and maybe they can make that change.
They're certainly going to make that change. It's an early one. Tim Bobolas' race is run already, midway through the first half, and it's Bernard Rene who's going to replace him. Not a bad replacement there.
Yeah, he doesn't have the same sort of pace, but he does have quality distribution. He's a good defender, does read the game well, so I don't think they'll lose too much, but I'm not sure that they're going to have Bernie Rene bombing up and down the line like Timmy Bobolas does, and for Thomas James, it's an incentive now to go one-on-one.
Season's been bedeviled by injuries for Frank Keisha, isn't it? You can argue now that he's without three of his first-choice players, Robbie Catanach, Daniel Colbertado, Tim Bobolas, and we're talking core players that are important to his team too.
Absolutely. And, earlier in the season we saw him lose Ross Stricker as well for an extended period of time. So they have done things with a degree of difficulty.
Popovic chasing after that. Good pace from Nick Popovic. Pavlak's got some toe as well, though. I think young Rocco Stricker you're talking about there.
What did I say?
You called him Ross for some reason.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, it's his brother.
Is that his brother? If he's got half as much skill as he has. Been a good final so far. Couple of half chances.
Yeah, it's been entertaining and a little bit fractious, as you suggest, and late challenges going in. But chances at either end, and after a really good start by FC, we've got a situation where Olympic are just grinding the way into the game.
Pavlak with the throw. Here's the first touch for Rene. Swiftly followed by a second. Stricker, nicely done, finds Michael John in a little bit of space. Dominici. Gerbischer comes in with a thumping challenge. No holds barred on that from the FC skipper. Now here comes Kofi Danning at the other end. Chance for him to run at Calabria. Kears square. Waters off the ball. Thomas James has gone into a challenge with Bernard Rene, who's gone down clutching his face now. I don't see what's happened there. Here's Stricker, but Rene's down, out of picture. Here's Dominici. Olympic on the attack. Dominici fires one! Brilliant save from Sam Brown, rather. Sticking a hand up to push it round the post. What a stop that was at one end, and drama at the other as well. I'm not sure what happened off the ball there with Bernard Rene and Thomas James, but here we are watching the replay, Steve. What a hit that is. What a save that is. Yeah,
good football all round, and we've seen some really good moments from goalkeepers today already in the earlier games, and that's another one where Sam Brown has made a terrific save from a viciously moving ball, dipping and swerving. Great shot from Dominici, and we know that he's capable of it. But I don't know what's happened here off the ball, but if the referees have seen it and there is something untoward, Thomas James could be in all sorts of diabolical problem.
Well, Rene went down in an absolute heap. Now, James was the nearest man in his vicinity.
Yeah, and we didn't see it, so we don't
know. Not sure exactly what's happened, but there's a lot of claret on his face there, isn't there?
Yeah, it looks like he's copped something around the lip.
It does, doesn't it? He's not the most demonstrative of people, is he, Bernard Rene? He's quite a laid-back character.
I mean, He's been on 35 seconds, had 2 headers and a split lip in an eventful introduction.
Yeah, it's a shame. I don't think we got the angle of that because it was outside of our camera shots. They're going to have to carry on with 10 men, but they were almost 1-0 up. It was a great save by Sam Brown to his right. Got a good fist on it, needed to.
I'll tell you what, if Frank Casey said you're playing right back for Olympic.
Thomas James has just picked up a yellow card. Sorry, Steve. So something obviously happened.
But surely that's got to be more than a yellow card then.
Well, if he splits his lip, unless it's a coming together, I don't really know.
Well, I caution him. I mean, he's got to see something deliberate, unless there's something happened since for dissent or something like that.
Here's a corner, which Gianpaolo will take. Swings it towards the far post, and there's a chance for Magic, and he forces it over the line! And Canberra Olympic have first blood. And it's Nathan Magic, the central defender, who pops up with the odd goal or two, and he gives them the lead.
Well, if Sam Brown covered himself with glory with the first save, he'll be looking at himself and saying, could I have done better with the cross? Because it's come in very, very close to his goals inside the 6-yard box. And they've scored when they're down to 10 men, but a good quality delivery from Gianpaolo. Caused all sorts of problems in the FC defence, and it's just poked home by Magic. And we said in the pre-game that he comes up with the odd goal, and he's actually broken the deadlock here.
Says in the programme, Magic's contribution to the grand final could well have a defining impact on the outcome.
Well, there you go.
And he certainly had an impact on this one. Controversy at one end, a goal at the other. It's Nathan Magic who gives Canberra Olympic the lead. Possibly one of the scrappiest goals he's ever scored, but does he care? Not a bit of it. His team lead.
It's full value. No matter how it goes in, you get full value for it. But I thought your comment was particularly apt when you said that Olympic drew first blood, given that what happened to Bernie Renee moments earlier.
And what a time for Nathan Magic to score his first goal of the season as well. We saw it in the under-20s with Bailey Toscan. It's generally one of those things that you just don't understand. It's just those players that don't often pop up with a goal that are the ones that come up with the vital moments on these occasions.
Maybe because there's so much attention paid to the regular sort of contributors that we tend to switch off when a non-expectant defender or scorer arrives in the penalty area.
For the third time this season, Canberra Olympic have a lead against Canberra FC. On all the other occasions, they went on to win the game. Will we get the same outcome today? Here's Waters. Kier asks an awful lot of Pavlak, and here's Renee, and he's busting to get in with that tackle, and he wins it brilliantly.
And then just panics a little when he had more time.
He's got a piece of tissue stuffed in his mouth, I think, as well, hasn't he?
He has.
Here's Subasic. Now Nick Popovic has got a problem as well. Renee slips, and James is in. Popovic not running as freely as he might. Here's James. Pavlak. James again. Pavlak sweeps it into the penalty area. Mensah's challenging. It's going to fall for Renee. And he just gets rid of it.
Yeah, Popovic went down in the other penalty area a few moments ago after a challenge, and I think he's just feeling the after effects of that, and he's struggling now.
He's down out of picture to our left as well. Not good. Matt Gerbish is rather sportingly kicks it out to the left-hand side of us here in the camera position. There's a Nick Popovic is down. It's another blow for Frank Casey. If this is the case, it doesn't look good for Popovic, does it?
And it's Wiedeker that's been sent to warm up. And Mickey Day's made more runs as the physio than some of the forwards.
She's got a grand final of her own to play.
Next weekend.
Yeah. In the Women's National Premier League for Belconnen United, all conquering Belconnen United in the Women's National Premier League. They will play the winner of tomorrow's match, which you can see live on Bar TV Sports, the women's preliminary final between Canberra United Academy and Canberra FC from McKellar Park. 4:30 p.m. kickoff. Join myself and Grace Marr in commentary for that one, as Nick Popovic gets a bit of treatment. Frank Casey must be wondering if he's walked under a ladder this season with all his players falling over.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, they've been very unlucky, but Popovic has actually been carrying injuries for the last couple of years, and it's probably a risk playing him at all. And, we've seen him on a couple of occasions now and he hasn't seen out the 90 minutes. It may well be that this is something completely new, a new injury, and he seems to be holding a rib.
It's like Michael Tarazi, isn't it? They've just been so bedeviled with these injuries. Every time they seem to get a run of football together, and they're both incredibly talented players as well, Steve. It must be so frustrating for them.
Absolutely, and for the people that, employ them as players, it's just, you just can't seem to get them on the park consistently. And they are both very, very talented young men.
Keep an eye on that out of picture as Bernard René is going to give the ball back to Matty Gerbischer. He'll get us going again. Here's Subasic. Dominici across to close him down very quickly. Challenge on Ryan Keir, who goes down in an absolute heap. And Michael Benson wanted to go quickly, but not from 25 yards ahead of where the foul was.
Yeah, nice try. Never going to get away with that.
It's had quite a bit this game, hasn't it? It's been some good football, but there's been some really tasty challenges as well that's kept everybody on their toes.
Certainly, there is no quarter being asked or given at the moment, and some of the things off the ball are a little distasteful.
Well, being refereed very well by Gary Van der Bert at the moment. Pavlak swings that one in. Constantin, who came and he almost lost it against old foe Matt Gerbischer at the second attempt. He grabbed it off the back of the central defender.
He won't like me saying this, but it was his sort of misjudgment in the grand final last year that allowed Nicky Dale to get on the end of a header and roll one into an empty net. So he won't be wanting to be repeating that.
I'm sure he remembers it.
Oh, he will. He will.
That was a crucial moment in that game last year. It puts Balconia United 2-0 up.
Right on the stroke of half-time, too.
Certainly was, wasn't it? And they came back into it. They have won the grand final in 2013, 2015 and 2016 Canberra Olympics, so as well as their league championships in 2016 and 2017, and of course their epic run to the FFA Cup semi-finals where they lost to Sydney FC at Viking Park in a terrific performance for a local club. Sweeping all before them. Playing most of their matches here. They love this venue.
They do. And Frank Keisha openly admits it, that he enjoys playing here. But they've really, really turned themselves into a very, very strong club. They had some years in the wilderness as FC dominated the local competition, but they're back with a vengeance.
The recruitment's been good as well. They add 1 or 2 players per year, not too many, just to build on what they've got, and some youngsters coming through as well. There's a chance for Danning out wide for FC, looking for a response, but he's certainly played better passes in his career than that, Kofi Danning. That one's out in the car park as well.
Unless he was looking for a roof, that was a poor cross. Right option, great ball in, perfect run, absolutely wasted.
He's got a cheeky smile on his face, Kofi Danning. I'm sure he's aware that that's not one of his finest moments. It's not going to make the Kofi Danning highlight reel, is it?
No. I'm hoping he got a bad bobble.
Got a couple of goals last week, though, in the last 10 minutes. Canberra FC winning 5-0 against the Tigers.
So
And there's a
Popovic
change.
off, yeah.
Popovic is gone. We can see Michael Reeve just in our picture down here. So 2 changes already for Frank Keisha 10 minutes before half-time. Not ideal, especially if this one goes the distance. Here's FC, 4 in attack. It's 4 against 3 momentarily. Here's Thomas James looking to accelerate. Stricker's back and fouls him. They claim he's got the ball. And it's a free kick in a dangerous position.
It is, and I think Thomas James was probably playing for that a little bit. There appeared to be contact from behind, and the referee, from the position he was in, would see it that way. And I don't think that Olympic can have too many complaints, but this really is.
It's a good position, isn't it? I'll tell you who's the busiest person in the ground right now is Leon on the replays. Seems to be something to look at every 30 seconds or so.
Well, can this get FC back into the game? 1-0 down, less than 10 to go to half-time. Thomas James on a game, and he's been peripheral for most of the first half, but here's his chance.
It is James. It's low and hard, and it's flashed across the face of Constantinu's goal, and the English-born striker disappointed with his efforts. Disappointed perhaps that there was no one there to get on the end of it.
Yeah, here it is again.
Bit of a cross shot, wasn't it?
And I think it has Constantinu going the wrong way. Yeah, he steps to his left first and opens up the far side, this near post.
Tell you what, that wasn't far away, was it?
It was a good effort, really good effort.
Stricker, who committed the foul, breathes a sigh of relief. Gerbischer, Reeve looking for his first involvement. And Stricker's back there, and You can see how he's played in Croatia. He's got that physicality about him as well. He's a wiry frame, isn't he? But some strength in it as well.
Yeah, I was saying earlier on that I thought he'd started well, and he certainly hasn't dropped off.
Gianpaolo.
FC will do well to come to grips with the way he's playing and try and close him down a little quicker.
How hard is it for Michael Reeve? He'd be disappointed he's not starting, and then all of a sudden, half an hour in, he's on the field. Yeah,
look, I think you're caught in two minds, aren't you? You'll be delighted to get your opportunity, but you'll be feeling for Popovic, who's had to come off. I'm sure they're a tight squad, and Michael Reeve's a genuinely nice guy, so I can't expect that he would be thinking that he's glad that something's happened like that.
Off goes Thomas James, goes down under the challenge, and this time there will be a yellow card for Rocco Strucker. He becomes...
I think it's Megic, actually. I think it's Megic.
Sorry, was it Megic?
Yeah.
Let's check the replay. The third player booked today. Here it is. Checking back, and I think it is Strucker, maybe.
Is it?
I think it might have been. We'll double check that anyway. Ball comes in from the free kick. I think he's had 2 or 3 dabs, hasn't he? But Gerbish has sent it in. Real chance here on the far post, and Megic was up quickest and highest. Otherwise, Subasic might have been in. This Gerbish has got a good feel to this one. Gerbish bringing it forwards. Squeezes it into the path of Subasic. Looks to find his way through, and there's Constantinu, and again there's a little bit of a coming together, and referee Gary Vanderbilt separating the arguing parties. Was there a little shove there from Subasic?
Yeah, there was.
Unnecessary?
And one from Calabria as well. But this is the period of the game, certainly in the major semi-final, where FC started to turn things around. And just in the last couple of minutes, we've seen them press on and start creating things.
Well, there's a little bit of a coming together. There wasn't too much in it. Maybe there's a slightly unnecessary shove by Subasic. And slightly unnecessary for Josh Calabria to get involved as well.
Yeah. But they're getting the free kick. Let's get on with it.
But Rocco Strucker down. Doing his defensive work. 5 minutes to half-time. This is fairly flown by, Steve. It's been an entertaining game.
It's been a good game. We've got the one goal, and that means that in the second half we can look forward to some further excitement, pressure from FC to try and get back into it, if they're not before half-time.
Last time they were here, there was a goal right on half-time, wasn't there, from Matt Waters that changed the complexion of that match. Is James battling with Megic, and Megic is penalised. James wants to go early and then thinks better of it.
I thought there was an opportunity for the referee to sort of play an advantage there. There was no need to stop it so quickly.
It's boiling under though, isn't it? You can see it might boil over at some stage. As you say, it's simmering a little bit out there, Steve. It's James with the free kick into the danger zone, flicked on by Ryan Keir. Constantinu gathers.
It's got one of those feels about it that that if somebody didn't see the end of it, if there was a send-off, you wouldn't be totally surprised.
And you think it'd be maybe one of those comings together of the 50-50 that goes wrong that may spark it all off?
Yeah. Yeah, and like you were saying, there's 3 people on yellow cards already.
It's a touch from Dominici. It's not been as involved as much as he would have liked to have been. Megic wins the header. The goal scorer. Danning. Graham. Now Pavlak. Bit of space for him to work with. Waters started brightly. Graham worked that nicely to the opposite flank. Subasic for Brunskill. The young defender grabs it again. Waters now, more central. But he's been picked off by Calabria.
Yeah, it's an ambitious ball.
And Gianpaolo's rolled the challenge, and unfortunately for Olympic, it left the ball behind. Otherwise, he may have been forming a 2-on-2 there. James, ball for Keir, but Megic reads it. Dominici. Calabria. Goes back to Constantinu. Very reliable goalkeeper with his feet.
Yeah, good left foot.
As you'd expect from a Futsalroo international. Flags up against Michael Mensah.
But he never went for the ball. I mean, that's a strange decision.
I think it's his presence caused the clearance to be a little bit more rushed than perhaps what it was.
He actually stayed out of it on purpose. Anyway, it's only a free kick.
Owen Goldrick on the far side. The A-League official. Two and a half minutes to half-time plus stoppage time, of which there might be a couple.
Oh, there'll be a couple at least.
James thunders it into Stricker from close range. The ball is played forwards. Subasic was there.
Apart from a couple of sort of tasty runs, Thomas James hasn't been in the game nearly enough for Paulo McCaw's liking, and I think he'll be having a word at half-time to see if we can get, or he can get him into the game in good areas of the pitch.
Here's Keir to Matt Waters. And here's Michael Mensah chasing down Bobolas. Waters. Pavlak. Waters again. Swings it towards the far post, and Michael John's back there defending. It's going to fall for Brunskill, though. Subasic.
Not a lot of movement in front of Subasic then, and I think he was a little disappointed. He's eventually turned out and gone home, but he'll be looking for a little bit more from his team.
Here's Pavlak looking to get on the end of this in the penalty area. Ivan Pavlak swings it in towards Mensah with a header. Couldn't get enough on it. It's going to fall for Danning. Can he reload? Towards the far post. John and Calabria make a bit of a hash of it, and Thomas James can pick it up. FC ending the half strongly. James, off he goes into the air, and he's denied by the challenge. And then there's something coming together between John and James as well. At half-time, we're hoping to be joined by Capital Region Bids team leader Michael Caggiano for a very quick chat about how the A-League bid has gone down here in Canberra. So if you're interested in the A-League bid, stick around. We'll have a quick chat with Michael Caggiano before the second half. Swung into the penalty area and nodded clear, but only as far as Waters, who drills it into Michael Reeve. Falls for Graham. Touch was poor. Waters again. Now Keir.
He's struggling too, I think.
Swings it in towards the far post. John wins it. Subasic. Nicely done. James. John's in there with a tackle. And corner is the outcome.
So 4 minutes of injury time to be played. FC with a corner. This is their opportunity, or one that they can take advantage of to actually bring the game back to level terms and go into the sheds of 1-1.
It's Pavlak with it. Swings it in towards Mensah. Graham was there. He thought about the acrobatics. I'm not sure the old legs enabled him to get up for the bicycle. James, it was in stoppage time, as I said, in the qualification final that FC scored to get themselves back into the match. That throw is asking a bit. And here's a chance perhaps for Dominici. If he gets ahead of Germischer, he could be in with an opportunity. And the flag goes up as Rocco Stricker was away. Matt Germischer wants a card. Stephen Dominici says he has the ball. The crowd getting into it, Steve.
I'd like to see that again because there didn't look to be much in it. They both fell over and it was such a ridiculous throw, but they've turned it over again anyway.
Here's Michael John. He's on his own at the moment. He's got Dominici coming up in support. Here is Stephen Dominici. Pavlak's back with him. Reeves made the overlap run. Pulls it back for Stricker. Will he try one from range? He can't because Waters denies him and Graham can calm things down. The half ending with a flourish, much as the whole 45 has been so far. Danning into the channel, denied by Magic.
Good defending, good cover. But it's end to end now.
Waters. Danning. Waters. Danning again. James playing as a right back. Can he deliver something? He's got the quality, swings it in there. Opportunity here on the far post, and it was won by Ryan Keir, and there was no one coming in to nod it into the empty goal.
Ryan Keir can justifiably look at his teammates and say, what are you doing? I mean, they've won this ball. Great ball in from James. He wins this. An empty goal, tap in, but nobody gambles, nobody anticipates. There's 1-1, and it's into the sheds now, probably at 1-0, and they can be really disappointed in his teammates. Ryan Keir did exceptionally well.
The invitation was there. No one took it up. Just a step forward and nodded into the goal. It was a great ball from James. Pavlak, plenty of talking points in the NPL Grand Final in Canberra. Was there a shove there by Rene? Gianpaolo, nice touch. Looks for James, but Brunskill's there. Graham. Calabria's across. Just sends it back at the other end of the field. Well into that 4 minutes of stoppage time now. Gerbischer forward to Danning. Nick Bobolas with a thumping tackle. And not only that, he's brought the ball away as well and killed a few seconds. Here's John. Bobolas again. Flips it towards Dominici. He's been well defended for most of this half. Stricker, lovely header. Finds Reeve. Now then, does he want to deliver something into the air? It's a good ball in towards Gianpaolo. Connected well, just couldn't get the direction right.
That's Stricker again applying pressure in midfield, and Reeves picking up the bits and whipping in a decent cross. Gianpaolo making that near post run, just got his head on it, and we go into the sheds 1-0.
Gary Vanderbilt brings the half to an end, and a half full of talking points, Steve. A half that's seen one goal scored by Nathan Medjic, but has seen the best laid plans of Frank Cation. Not, I wouldn't say ripped up and thrown away, but certainly besmirched a couple of times and maybe screwed up a little bit. He's lost Nick Popovic, he's lost Tim Bobolas.
Yeah, two massive blows in the grand final to your starting 11. It doesn't really matter that you've got adequate replacements. You pick a team to go on the park to actually do the job, and unfortunately for Frank and the Olympic team, they've lost two of their starting 11. But the game has been a terrific one to watch. We've had the goal, we've had excitement, we've had a little bit of tension, a little bit of afters, some thundering tackles, some good football, some mistakes that have added to the excitement. But all in all, a good first 45 minutes and something to look forward to in the second half.
Nathan Medjic's goal, scored midway through the half. It was the scrappiest goal that we've seen, but it doesn't matter. He forced it over the goal line, and a goal's a goal.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why we're 1-0. Medjic in the right spot. And, you know, we see in injury time at the end of the second half, at the end of the first half, Ryan Keir getting on the end of Thomas James cross, and there's nobody there to poke it in and scramble it home, whereas the Olympic goal came from exactly that. So full credit to Medjic for getting in the right spot, and if it isn't a classic, it'll still win a grand final if the scoreline stays the same.
Thanks, Steve, for your comments in the first half. You'll be joining me for the second half, but right about now, I'm being joined by Capital Region A-League bid team leader? Or was that what you called yourself?
I think team member.
Team member. Michael Caggiano. Welcome to the commentary box, Michael. Thanks for joining us at halftime in the NPL final. First of all, you enjoying what you're seeing?
Oh, yeah, it's a great game. I think it's pretty high level, really tactical. I'm enjoying it for sure.
More importantly, though, the A-League bid, it's gone in.
Yep.
It's not a small document, is it?
No, it was actually ended up being quite larger than we thought. I was telling you before the game, over 200 pages plus another 200 in attachments, so 400 pages, a small book on a football plan for Canberra in the region.
It's nothing if not comprehensive, and it's not something that's come together overnight either, is it? There's been a whole team of people, bid team members, volunteers, and everyone that's helped to make this happen. It's been a process that's been months in the making as well.
Yeah, it started off it started a few years ago really, but it kicked off in earnest around March, really, to get through the EOI stage of the bid, and then from there, you know, we got a lot of people joining the team. We had over 100 volunteers in the end. Yeah, altogether it was a big team and it was a big document, and we did everything we could. So it's in now, and we're already starting to hear some good things about it. So we're quite pleased.
Obviously, there's lots of stuff in the document that you can't go into commercially in confidence and all that kind of thing, but there's some really exciting stuff in there, isn't there?
Oh yeah, there's 3 European clubs looking to invest. They're interested in the club. There's Ron Smith, the head of the AAS, signed on as the head of football. There's the ability for people to donate to the club through a community aspect as a tax deduction. There's so many things that we plugged in that a lot of the other bids don't. yeah, there's a lot of things in there. You know, it's hard to mention them all now. So, yeah, very exciting.
For you personally, it's been a busy few months. You've got a young family as well. It must be nice to get a bit of time with them now when you're not at the football, of course.
Yeah, I went away at the end of the bid going in last Friday and took my wife and my 1-year-old daughter to Sydney. We went to Taronga Zoo and had a bit of fun. I slept in for a day, and then on Sunday we had a good walk around Sydney. Then back on Monday and back into it really. Like I thought we'd have a bit of a break, but that's how fast the FFA is moving and some of these investors. So we've been back at it since Monday.
It's been a really interesting time, especially with I've been fortunate to be involved and see a lot of the things that are going on. There's been some incredible work put in by some incredible people. If this comes off, the people of Canberra can have a lot of people to thank, but particularly yourself and Bede and those people that are involved from the very beginning that have not only just helped this move along, but almost forced the issue in some respects.
Yeah, I think there's, every team has its superstars. One of them's definitely Bede Garn. He's done a lot behind the scenes. I'm sort of the face of it, really, and I talk more than everyone else, so they put me in front of the camera, and I try and make people smile and make sense of things. But, there's Bede there. Definitely Jeff Williamson kept the bid alive in the dark years when nothing was going on. He kept prodding and pressing the FFA to bring that back up to the top of the agenda. Guys like yourself, that don't give yourself credit, but I've helped out with, all aspects of understanding about the Canberra football community and its history and paying homage to that. There's heaps of Alex Belperio, I could name them all. There's probably 10 really people that got deeply involved, and another 10 that really helped out and led things like volunteers, and more than 100 volunteers. It's just the list goes on. It's hard to name everyone.
How good is it to see so many people with a Canberra football focus, not just in Canberra but overseas, jumping on board? We saw already last week Tom Rogic posting something as well, which was great. We see local politicians and national politicians getting on board as well. It's got real traction, this bid.
Yeah, and it wasn't hard in a way, to be honest. Maybe it was at the time, it felt it, but it wasn't. Everyone wanted it. It was just more about amplifying that voice in the community anti-FFA. It was we were just the spokespeople for those people. That's what I said all along. We're representing the community. It wasn't my team or Bede's team. It was our team, and we were just the guys pulling it together for the rest of the community. Yeah, really exciting. You got guys like Joe Palmer wanting to sign up. He's the current CEO-elect of Wimbledon, probably the most famous community club in the world, and he wants to be involved. You've got a guy that it'll come out next week, Tony Seeley, the head of Hong Kong Football Club, probably the biggest, most prestigious football club in Asia, signed on as our board. We've got PJ Roberts, old Canberran boy, Perth Gory player, A-League player, played with the Cosmos as well. He's jumping on board, and he's got people in Asia already interested. He's worked as a head pundit for ESPN in Asia and done a lot of stuff there. So all these people coming out and really behind us, it's been really exciting.
Now the bid's in, though, it's not done, is it? We still want people in Canberra to sign up. We still want people in Canberra to make some noise and let the FFA know that even though our bid is incredibly good and the document is fantastic, we definitely want a team here. Yeah,
I think it doesn't just stop now. You don't just put a bid in. I think that's one of my criticisms of the others. I haven't said a lot about the others, and I don't intend to, but I was presenting a plan to build a football club, not to win a bidding process. I didn't think it should be a competition who could impress the FFA the most. It was about who would actually present a plan on something to build, and I think you would have seen some of that in the documentation we put together. We were trying to always present, give us a license on November 1st, and this is how we would build a club. So we're not stopping. I've got a few things we're working on that are quite exciting still. One secret I'll let everyone in on, I probably shouldn't, but we're going to see FFA on Tuesday night in Sydney. So that's how quickly it's moving and how much interest is there. And that's really exciting for us. Bar TV exclusive from Michael Caggiano. Thank you very much for joining us, Michael. You and your team can be very proud of what you've achieved. It's great to get a bit of family time back now as well. Enjoy the second half. Thanks for joining us, and let's hope that we get games like this on a national stage and we have an A-League team and somewhere for these kind of players to aspire to go to. For sure. We're bringing something here, so it's going to happen. Thanks, Michael, for joining us. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back very shortly with the second half. At halftime here, in case you missed it, it's Canberra Olympic 1, Canberra FC 0. Keep
Welcome back to Deakin Stadium, the second half of the NPL Grand Final. Some enlightening stuff there from Michael Caggiano and the A-League bid team at half-time. It's very entertaining at the moment. Hopes are high that Canberra will be added to the A-League list and that these players out here may have an opportunity to strut their stuff on a national stage every single week.
Well, if it's not these players, then certainly the next generation that follows them, and that would be something special for Canberra. But I've got to take the opportunity to wish Michael and the bid all the best, because an aspirational team in Canberra is a long way. It's been a long time coming. It's something that we desperately need.
Focus though, right now, NPL Grand Final. It's Canberra Olympic leading by 1-0. Nathan Medjic with the goal. Quick rundown of the teams. Canberra Olympic in first, Constantinu in goal. Their back four of Rene, Bobolas, Medjic and Calabria. That's Nick Bobolas. McLaughlin, Stricker, Gianpaolo, Reeve, Dominici and John. 2 changes in the first half, of course. They lost Popovic and Bobolas to injury. Canberra FC, Brown in goal. Brunskill, Subasic, Gerbisher, Pavlak, James, Graham, Keir, Waters, Mensah, Kofi Danning. It's the latter two, the Guinness underway. Worth remembering, Ian Graham, Thomas James, and we think Rocco Stricker on yellow cards might play a pivotal role in this second half. Canberra FC needing to score. If they do, we may have extra time. If we do, may go to penalty, Steve. And interestingly, since Grand Finals in Canberra started in 1952, there's only been 4 matches that have ever gone to a penalty shootout.
I actually coached Belconnen years and years ago in one that did.
That would have been 1990, perhaps. They beat Canberra City 3-1 after a 1-1 draw.
Yeah.
The other 3, just for the record, 1966, SC Hope, the forerunners of Canberra FC, beat Juventus 4-3 after a 1-1 draw. In 1993, Canberra Olympic themselves beat Southern Cross 5-4 after a 3-3 draw. And in 2014, Belconnen United beat Canberra FC 3-2 after a 3-3 draw. So there you go. Not very often we get a penalty shootout in a grand final.
No.
I was fortunate enough to commentate on that one in 2014.
Yeah, and that was Jack Green stealing it at the far post, last kick of the game to create injury,
Certainly
extra
was.
time. Yeah.
At the end to our left, I believe.
Yes.
We're heading to the right this time. Pavlak swings it in and it eludes everybody.
Interesting. I mean, obviously we're not privy to what was said during the half-time break by both coaches, but I should imagine Paulo McCall might have some concerns about the fact that they've started well compared to the game a couple of weeks ago when they were 3-0 down. But they've started well and they're still 1-0 down. So he's going to have to find that sort of character that they showed in the second half in the major semi-final if they're going to get something out of this game.
McLaughlin finds Gianpaolo. Stricker bundles his way through a couple of challenges, but Pavlak's there. Graham helps it on its way. Rene easily wins the header, but Waters sends it to James. Rene, little dab at Thomas James.
Unceremoniously dumps him to the Deakin turf.
Been quite as influential as he would have hoped. FC's hitman.
No, and they need a big second half from Thomas James. Ryan Keir, Thomas James, the Pavlaks, they've got to step up now.
Pavlak with that free kick looking for Mensah. Wins the header, but the piece is collected by Angelo Constantinu. I mean, he's done this all afternoon, hasn't he? Or evening, I should say. Just sent it long early to Dominici.
Yeah, it's a tactic they've employed regularly.
It's Danning.
You know, the tactic of hitting Mensah in the air isn't quite paying off for FC tonight, so they may have to look to do something a little different from set pieces.
James. Pavlak on the overlap. Can he deliver something in towards the penalty area? It's come off the head of Medjic, and there's a challenge between Brunskill and John. Scream from the crowd, nothing more. Dominici tries to collect.
Good muscular challenge, man on man, and nothing wrong with that at all.
The longer we go, the more sense of urgency there will be from those in red to find a way back into the contest. Here's Pavlak on the left-hand side. Flips it towards James, Mensah, and he boots Nathan Medjic in the face. I think that was accidental.
It was, and it was half foot up and half head down. One of those accidental things, and hopefully he's okay.
Calabria is involved again with Michael Mensah. A war of words there. Here it is on the replay, Steve. And yeah, I don't think he saw him coming from behind him, did he?
No.
Saw one, though, for the goal scorer. I'm sure his first goal of the season will cheer him up somewhat.
He'd certainly be happy at this moment.
I tell you what, if that's the winning goal, he'd be telling everyone later on that was from halfway. Dribble past 4 players. Michael Mensah's having a chat with Gary Vanderbilt here.
It certainly dribbled past. I'm not sure about 4 players.
As we said, doesn't matter how it goes in, as long as it goes in. And it's Canberra Olympic who have the only goal of the game earlier today, wins for Riverina Rhinos in the NPL 18s and wins for Belconnen United in the NPL 20s.
You didn't have to say that, did you?
I did, Steve, unfortunately for you. I know it hurts. You won the league championship, though, didn't you?
We did? Yeah, we did.
In under-18. Steve Forshaw, the under-18 head coach of Belconnen United, saw his team beaten earlier this morning. Kicked off proceedings.
Have you finished?
I have. I won't mention it again. Gives you something to aim for next season, mate. Stricker wins a header. Here's Gianpaolo. Steve's going to throw me off the scaffolding shortly. Graham, at least wait till full time, eh? James sends it forward.
It's still a long drop, even at full time.
It's good structure here, isn't it? I'm not sure it's a decent structure they've got us in. It's nice and high off the ground, and it's a bit wobbly though. Here's Graham.
And I'm sure he won't mind me saying so, but Obi Shadman, the coach of Belconnen's under-20, he's a bit wobbly at the moment as well. Bumped into him at half-time, and he's still raucously celebrating the win.
He's had one or two soft drinks, has he?
Yes.
Free kick.
In between the harder ones.
Free kick to Canberra Olympic. Second half hasn't really settled just yet. Magic has been tasked with the responsibility. Looked for Calabria and it got to him, but via the flick off the head of Brunskill. And Calabria wasn't quite expecting that. Throw into Olympic. Josh Calabria will take it. It's Dominici. He's played with his back to goal for most of the afternoon, hasn't he, Steve Dominici?
Yeah. He's worked quite hard off the ball, and it hasn't quite happened. Dear, oh dear.
Well, I don't know what that was, but Michael John keeps it alive. Awful piece of defending, wasn't it? Here's Danning. Looks for Mensah. Looks for the return ball from Danning. That's nicely done. Calabria's there, though, and there was no real room to manoeuvre for Danning, and Constantinu just can clip it clear up towards Gianpaolo. Graham and Brunskill. About 1,000 Canberra FC games between those two.
Yeah, there'd be a significant number.
Subasic at the other end of the scale, but no less important to this team, and rather hoofed that one where he hoped Thomas James was. Angelo Constantinu in no rush. 7 minutes gone in the second half, live on Bar TV Sports. It's 1-0 here to Canberra Olympic. Graham looks to win the header. Subasic slides in, and it's out for a throw.
Sort of interrupted game suits the team in front, doesn't it? So if they can just make it a bit of a battle and slow the game down and take the tempo out of it, it will suit Olympic at this stage. Not that they're going to rest on the laurels, but the initiative really rests with FC now to take the game forward.
It's a good ball. Great ball from Stricker to Dominici in the channel. Well done to Stephen Dominici, creating the shooting opening perhaps. Back to McLaughlin. Dominici dancing his way through, tries to squeeze it through. Calabria's in, but the flag's up offside.
That's a great save. He didn't know it was going to be offside. That's a lovely idea from Dominici, the little reverse pass. Calabria up from fullback, finds himself on the wrong side of the back four. Can't finish, is offside, but it's a lovely move and a threat.
Great reverse pass as well from Dominici to get him in. See, the grand final here, obviously it's a big occasion, but Canberra FC have said to themselves, said earlier this season that it's the league that's important to them, and I know as a team like you did, who won the league championship as well, it shows the most consistent side, doesn't it? I mean, Belconnen United to come through from fourth in the 20s to win today, but it has its place this day. But
it's how
for some clubs now it's less important.
Look, I think in Australia it's how we do things, and we've got to embrace it. I mean, the purists always want the minor premiership to be given more significance. It's just not going to happen. And whilst you don't have relegation, and that takes us into a whole new area of conversation, then semi-finals and finals are a good way to finish off a season. But for Belconnen's under-20s,
We'll just break off a second there, Steve, because here's Gianpaolo looking to find Dominici in space, and he's got goal side for the first time. Stephen Dominici racing into the area. Gerbish's back there, and that's a good piece of defending to concede the corner.
Yeah, as I was just going to say, that you only have to win 2 or 3 games to win a grand final. I know you've got to get in the 4, but you can get in the 4th, and you don't necessarily in a 16-game season need a lot of points or a lot of wins to scrape into the 4. So the semi-final series is, for the purists, something that is an addition to the minor premiership, but once you get into a grand final, you definitely want to win it.
You call it a minor premiership, Steve. I call it a league championship.
Yeah.
Nothing minor about finishing top of the pile. Nothing minor about leading in the grand final either, and that's what Canberra Olympic are doing. Which Gianpaolo will take this corner. He slips as he delivers, and it's gone out of play. So congratulations to all those clubs that did finish top of the pile, including your own.
Yeah, I mean, I said to the boys after the game, and I don't want to bore the listeners with it, but they've had a great year. They've had a great year. You finished top of the pile, you've had a great year. Get into a grand final, it's a bonus. To win it, it's even better. We just couldn't do it today.
That's what Canberra FC have said as well. They're all about the league championship as well. Here's a change for them. Ryan Keir is done, and it's Jordan Lamb who's going to come on.
Yeah, I thought Ryan Keir was just struggling with what looked like a quad injury in the first half, so he's obviously not been able to continue.
Rene sweeps that one forward. Lovely ball, but Dominici's offside. Will that precipitate a change, or will Jordan Lamb just slot into that midfield role, do you think?
I think he'll probably go and play a little higher up the park, probably play in a more advanced role than Graham. It won't be 4-3-3. They won't revert to 4-3-3, but they'll probably play more with a diamond in midfield.
Brown with the free kick. Hefty one too, looking for Danning, who wins the flick on. Mensah didn't read it. Shame that wasn't the other way around for those in red. Nice touch from Gianpaolo, and that's a good-looking ball from Stricker as well. And the chase is on for Michael Reeve. Good turn of pace as well. Rocco Stricker will take the throw, and it's a good crowd. It's a fairly full.
Crowd. Yeah, it's a good crowd. Good
fairly
atmosphere.
Full on both sides. The atmosphere's pretty good.
I'm just thinking to myself, Russ, that that sort of long straight ball, as we saw Brown take from the free kick, flicked on and the keeper gets it. It really does invite the opposition forward, doesn't it? Because you've committed players forward, and then suddenly you turn over possession cheaply, and
Ball comes for Calabria, flags up again.
same player, a little reverse pass again, and they're going to persevere with that, and they might just get something out of it. But I think FC just needs to be less direct. They've got to start playing a little bit of football through midfield, and they'll be better off. 12
minutes of the second half gone. It's 1-0 still to Canberra Olympic. Magic, the goal scorer, wins the header, towering header. Gianpaolo, a little bit lazy that touch. He usually comes off after about 65 minutes or so, but I'm not sure today. He might have to do a bit more.
Certainly with the substitutions in the first half, it's likely that they won't be making changes now until late in the game.
Magic, another thunderous header. Gianpaolo, here's John. Chance for him to put his head down and run. Lamb's back with him. Gianpaolo once more. Creates the space with a nice little drag back. John dummies. Good one too. Michael John in the area. Chance for 2, and it's just wide. Beautifully worked. And a great chance goes begging.
Absolutely wonderful football. You'll see a little dummy in here that sets up the return pass for MJ, and he just is unable to squeeze it home. But this is just wonderful football. Really, really first class.
It's reminiscent of a Dwight York, Andy Cole move against Barcelona a couple of years, many moons ago, I should say. Little dummy there, and got MJ back in on the rebound, and John, unfortunately, slides it past the post. That was an opportunity for FC and for Olympic rather than FC once more. Sounded another warning. As they push, chances will appear.
Oh, there's no doubt that it'll open up a little bit further than it has already. But Subasic came out of the line at a rate of knots then, and then got caught out, and it left gaping holes in the middle of the back four. So they just need to be a little careful that they don't leave the back door open.
Bobolis gets that one a bit wrong. How good's Tom McLaughlin been today? Quite an achiever in the absence of Colberteldo.
He's done okay, hasn't he? He's done okay. He hasn't done anything spectacular, but he's been
sat
solid.
in that role.
Yeah.
Just in front of the back four where Colberteldo usually does. Is Lamb looking to exert his influence on proceedings? What can Canberra FC got up their sleeve? They've been good all season at finding something. Usually through this man, James. Gerbisher. Subasic. Brunskill. Looking to deliver. Lamb. Left the return a little short, and Stricker wins the free kick.
That was a rather agricultural challenge from Mr. Brunskill, rightly given as a free kick.
Frustrated one on Rocco Stricker, who's actually been excellent.
Yeah, he's been very good. Been very good.
Here's James. There's a work rate that we mentioned earlier. Back there helping out his defence. Brown sends that one forward, but he's only picked out Stricker. Graham's challenging and concedes the free kick. A little bit soft, that one.
I think
It's a little bit soft.
yeah, people throwing cans of beer towards the pitch. It's just unnecessary. But I think
Especially considering it was full.
Yeah, I think the free kick was actually given for the first challenge.
Free kick, Olympic get on with it. Here's Calabria in behind. Into the penalty area, Josh Calabria, and he couldn't quite get the ball to come down for him. McLaughlin lifts it back in towards the danger area where Gianpaolo and Reeve have lots of room in which to work. Gianpaolo, Goodbush has gone out to challenge. Reeve tries to return the pass. And here is Gianpaolo. He's got away. Pulls it back towards Dominici. Good challenge at Aidan Brunskill. It's still not away. Reeve is now up towards the FC forwards. Waters wins the header. Mensah brings it down. Danning rather brings it down.
That's good football.
Does well, Kofi Danning.
Yeah.
It's not quite got the heat it had in the first half, is it? But that's some throw. Here's Mensah, tries to roll Magic. Rene thumps it clear. Yeah, it's not quite crackling like it was in the first 45.
No, the fractiousness, the tension's gone out of it a little bit, but we're seeing, I think, some wonderful football from Olympic, and perhaps FC could take a leaf out of their book.
Pavlak goes long again. This time Calabria back to Constantinu, who does well with a tricky bouncing ball. Pavlak. Gerbischer. Now Danning. Good ball towards James. And it's Nick Bobolas tracking him. Rene. Certainly didn't lose anything when Bernard Rene came on, did they?
Not defensively. Player. Yeah, not defensively.
Doesn't bomb on quite so much as Tim Bobolas, does he? Gianpaolo gets a bit fortunate with a ricochet. Now looks to find Dominici, who's peeled away in front of the Olympic support. Stricker. Tries one from distance. It was ambitious. Came off Graham.
But for a team that's playing 4-4-2, they've certainly left three forward, DFC. So the body language just suggesting that.
Here's Gianpaolo, trying to get the shot away. McLaughlin made it with the run forwards. Olympic have the throw in. Chance for looking at the benches that we've got. We've still got Christian Predazino, Ross Costanzo and Marko Verkic for Canberra FC as well.
Yeah.
So one of them may be called upon shortly.
Well, certainly they've got more ammunition up the sleeve than Olympic have because of those early changes.
Chance in the area for Dominici. He tries to twist and turn. Apologies for any fruity language you may be hearing, picking up by our cameras from some of the supporters. Getting a bit louder as the night goes on. Well lubricated by this stage, I think, Steve. Here's Reeve in towards Dominici.
Certainly loosens the inhibitions.
Waters won the header, and he's going to win in free kick. Or he's not. Thought the referee was going to blow there.
Yeah, it looked a free kick.
Here's John. Stricker, it's opened up for him. Rocco Stricker on the left foot. It's tipping. And it took a deflection as well. And he was so close to doubling Olympics' advantage.
It's a great effort, and it just takes a deflection wide. But Stricker, to me, has been the best player on the park tonight so far. And FC are just slightly off the pace. Good touch inside, great left foot strike, not that far wide.
Who was it that came out there to get I think it was a Subasic. It came off him. Good piece of defending, needed to be. Corner kick to Canberra Olympic. Opportunity perhaps for Gianpaolo to swing it into the penalty area. It's a good one too. Brown elected to stay. Might fall on the edge of the box. It's been headed back goalwards by Bobolas. Waters got rid. Dominici finds Reeve. Short pass to Stricker. Lines one up again from range, and this one, fair to say, not quite as close as this one a moment ago.
No, just perhaps lacking the deflection.
A little bit off target, I would say.
Yeah, not his best effort, but he's had 2 or 3 now where he's been found on the edge of the box, and something that FC are going to have to close down a lot quicker than what they are at the moment, because once he finds his range, he's likely to stick one in the top corner.
Well, it's been Olympic. They've had the better of the second half, or marginally.
Marginally, yeah.
FC need a response. They've got 25 minutes plus stoppage time to find something if they're to complete the treble. Here's a chance for Dominici. He's got in behind. Stephen Dominici, but Matty Gerbischer using all his years of experience. Good piece of defending by him. Danning holds it up, but there's 2 blue shirts around him, and it's Stricker that comes away with it. He had this influence in the qualification final, didn't he? He came into the game more and more as it went on and began to run the show, really.
Yeah, and ended up with 2 goals, didn't he?
Yeah, he certainly did. He scored late on in the 84th and a penalty in the 92nd minute to crown Olympics' 5-3 victory. Good win by Mensah. 34 goals he scored this season. That was 2 of them. That came off John's arm, it looked like.
It did.
Been picked up by Pavlak. Now Lamb pushes and goes, and Thomas James is trying to get away from the limpet-like attentions of Nathan Medjic, who gets involved again, and that's going to be a free kick. Thomas James has done exceptionally well to win that free kick.
He looked to have given it away, didn't he? And then he's just a burst of acceleration, and he's got himself in front and wins himself a free kick in a good area.
Slightly better than a corner, right on the touchline there.
But Medjic, you've got to be a little bit more positive in your defending and just make sure that sort of thing doesn't happen.
Thomas James with the free kick, chips it into the danger area. Running in was Mensah. Lamb's involved as well. That's never a penalty. No. Tried to climb over the back of Dom Gianpaolo, who just stood his ground.
No sort of controversy there.
Matt Waters to take the throw.
One of the quieter games from Matt Waters too. He started off quite strongly and he's just drifted out of the game a little bit.
As you mentioned in the first half, Steve, he was roaming around in that first half, and he's been less effective this time or this half. Pavlak ran into trouble for a moment. James, nice ball that is. Out wide and chance for SC with Subasic, and now here's Danning into the area. Mensah lays it off. Ian Graham, great block by Medjic, scores 1 and saves 1.
Perhaps not the player you wanted to pick that up on the edge of the box, Ian Graham, because he's not renowned for his goal-scoring prowess, but he was just 1 half second too slow in getting his shot away, or otherwise it might have been level.
They're threatening though. Here they come. Gerbischer looking wide for Danning again. Great ball that. Kofi Danning skips past Rene. Can he get something into the air? Swings it in, and Big Ange Constantinou just clutches the ball from the night sky.
Yeah, on his left foot he wasn't quite as positive, was he? But he got in behind Bernie Rene with a lovely piece of skill. And there we go.
Just Calabria's kicking it out of play because Stephen Dominici, who's down, he's done as well. Well, Oliver Wiedeker's coming on. That's a 3rd change.
And that's early in the game to be running out of subs.
It is. Ollie Wiedeker comes on, the substitute, scored 1 goal this season. That's 3 changes that have been done. And we've still got half a half to go, plus stoppage time, and maybe more.
And you certainly don't lose anything in terms of pace with Wiedeker coming on as a replacement. But Dominici has been busy on the reading the front line. I
can only assume that he's got a knock.
Yeah,
Gerbischer goes long. We'll come revisit that in a second, Steve. He's going to have another chance to launch it. It's not quite panic stations yet, is it? But he wants to get on with it, Matt Gerbischer. Wiedeker's first touch. Timely one from Gerbischer to Waters. James. Pavlak. Wound one up, but only drilled it into Michael Reeve. Danning. Looked lively going wide. Chance here for Pavlak to swing it in. McLaughlin gets a foot in the way. Pavlak once more. No real movement in front of him. So he has to go the long way round, and it's going to break nicely for Kofi Danning here. Fizzes it across goal, and Constantine drops it and makes an outstanding follow-up save to deny Aidan Brunskill. Fantastic stop from Constantine. Uncharacteristic error, but then he made up for it.
Absolutely. I mean, it looked all over the equaliser, didn't it, when he spilled out of Ange's grip. But Brunskill doing the right thing, as every player should do, following in, gets there first, but hits it straight at the big man, who's up quickly and makes the block.
It's an imposing frame from that range, isn't it, Angelo Constantine?
Absolutely. You'd be looking up there and you wouldn't be able to see the goal.
It's a big boy, clad in pink. Graham, whose shot a couple of moments ago looked to be on target as well, which was well blocked by Magic, and that's a free kick, and there's a yellow card.
Don't know what you're arguing about. It looked nailed on, yellow card. But the
Matty Gerbisher joins the lengthy list. I think Stricker made sure the referee knew there was a foul.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. But the last two chances that have fallen to FC have fallen to Ian Graham and Brunskill. You know, you fall to Thomas James or Kofi Danning, and you're a different chance.
It's a dead serve.
He knew exactly what he was doing. It was just deliberate.
See it on the replay anyway. Tried to bluff the referee. Here's Gianpaolo swinging it in towards Michael John, who leaps. Gerbisher wins the header. Better bit of defending that time. Here's Waters. Brunskill, who had that half chance that Constantino denied. And did he run that out of play?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Pleading his innocence, Aidan Brunskill.
As you would if you made an error like that. But it was definitely out from my vantage point.
Our lofty perch, as they call it, Steve. Josh Calabria with the throw, right in front of the commentary position. Slap bang in the middle of the stand here at Deakin Stadium. Lamb wins the header. Calabria will get another chance. Nathan Magic having a chat with Greg Taylor about something that happened off the ball as well. Here's Waters. Good challenge from Calabria. Not a good challenge from Calabria, apparently.
No. And he's in the book as well.
And that's for dissent more than anything, I think, isn't it? Josh Calabria becomes the second Canberra FC player after Stricker to go in the cards. There's now 5. They've seen yellow. Handled it pretty well, though, Gary Vanderbilt. He's not let it boil over, has he?
He's done okay.
That one major incident in the first half of the penalty that we didn't get to see the replay of, but like I said, there was no real protestations at the time, so...
No. There was certainly contact on the legs, but whether it was actually after he made the ball...
Yeah, there was a bit.
So Ian Graham off and Pretzina on.
Because
I don't think that's a bad
Pratishina.
change. It's more attacking change and a little bit more mobility.
Well, Christian Pratishina had a decent game here in setting up a couple of goals a few weeks back, and we saw him become an important part of the squad. He hasn't scored this season, but he has got a genuine pace. Here's Waters. James in the area. Thomas James thought about it. Still going, Thomas James, dancing his way through, trying to force his way past Calabria. Still going. 5 blue shirts around him in the end. And he wins his team a corner.
That's the sort of panic. When he's on his game, that's the sort of panic he can introduce into a back four. And he got into some dangerous positions in the penalty area there, and they closed him down like it was a manhunt.
They weren't letting him get any way through, were they? And here's the chance for the corner. Waters swings it into the near post. McLaughlin gets rid of it. Waters again swings it towards the leaping Mensa. Overhead kick. What a save. What an effort. Danning won the header. Mensa with the overhead kick. Constantino with the save. Great effort from the big man.
I mean, you get everything
Both
now,
big
don't
men.
you? Yeah, you get everything now. I mean, Danning wins the header, gets it back into a good area. Mensa first to react, and Constantino gets it away and around his post. Great football.
Danning's leap again. It's a good one, and some vertical leap on Kofi Danning, isn't there? That was slammed up front to Michael John. It's on his own against 2 defenders. Brunskill picked his pockets, and here's Jordan Lamb.
I think they've pushed. I think they've gone to 3 at the back, and they've pushed people on.
Well, there's no roof on this stand where we are, Steve, but if there had been, it would have come off if Mensa's overhead kick had gone in. Absolute beauty of an effort, and fair play to Angelo Constantino getting 2 good fists to it.
Yeah, it was a good save. Good save. Preserves the lead, and it looks to me like Subasic just pushed further forward now as they look to try and get the equaliser.
Quarter of an hour plus stoppage time left, unless Canberra FC can find an equaliser. Gerbischer swings it right to Danning. Their play over the last 10 minutes or so has suggested they might be on course for one.
Yeah.
Here's Danning again, who's causing all sorts of issues. McLaughlin gets rid.
Just off screen, and Giampaolo, you see it now, he's just stretching his calves. This is a long time past his bedtime for Giampaolo. He doesn't usually play this long.
He's going to have to stick around for a bit longer, isn't he?
No going off now.
Gerbischer with a long throw deep into the area. Danning was there. It's bounced off of a blue shirt, I think. It's a corner.
It's a corner. Turning the screws now.
I won't say Olympic are panicking yet, but they're certainly shaky.
Look, they're scrambling well. I mean, there hasn't really been a massive amount of chances created in the last 5 minutes. But here we see the corner again, and yeah, well defended. Well defended.
Keep an eye on Dom Giampaolo. He's stretching against the post again there. Thomas James with the corner. It's a vicious one towards the far post. Gerbischer wins the header. And it's just going to be smashed clear up towards Michael John, who's fairly lonely at the moment, apart from the 2 red shirts alongside him. One of which is Pradestin, and he's given the ball away.
Yeah, Michael John's got to spend the next 15 minutes fairly lonely. He's going to be isolated as they turn the screws and push on FC. But if he can get a break and get away from his markers, he's a chance to seal it.
Gerbischer hasn't had a chance in front of goal really today, Michael John. Neither's Thomas James for that matter.
He rolled the one past the post with the.
Oh, that's true. Forgot about that one. Lovely little 1-2, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Good job you're here making notes, Steve. 11 goals this season for Michael John. I'm sure he'd love to bring it up to a round dozen and give his team the security of a second. It's Gerbischer. 50-50 between Calabria and Lamb. Calabria won it. There's Giampaolo. Certainly not running freely by any stretch of the imagination. Here's Lamb.
But those sort of challenges aren't Dom's sort of cup of tea anyway.
Pavlak, lovely ball, looking for James. Nick Bobulus was there. Danning, who since he's drifted wider has become more and more effective.
Yeah.
Gerbischer sweeps it towards Subasic, who's playing as an auxiliary striker at the moment. Medjic was there, but he's dawdled in possession. Stricker tries to get it away. Wiedeke, that's nicely done. Finds Giampaolo, looks to give it back to Ollie Wiedeke. He pushes and goes, and Waters helps him over, and that's a real unnecessary foul from Matt Waters.
It was, but I think it was off the pitch. I'd like to see it again. I think the contact was actually made this side of the wide line. Nonetheless.
Just onside the pitch.
Yeah, just the right side. Good decision, Gary Vanderbilt.
Time ticking away. Giampaolo swings it towards Reeve. Pavlak wins the header. Gerbischer's going to pick up the pieces and just sweep that ball out towards Kofi Danning. If he gets there, it could be a chance here. It's 4-on-4. James running at the defence. Thomas James into the area, still going. James on that right foot, and he equalises! The big man for the big occasion! Thomas James, when his team needed him, he stands up. 25 for the season. Canberra FC a level.
And Matty Gerbischer can take all the plaudits because it's his ball that pegs Kofi Danning in, and Thomas James, still with a lot to do, cuts inside onto his trusty right foot and places it firmly past Angelo Constantino. As we see the replay, he turns inside and then a lovely finish as he does 2 or 3 defenders on the way. Wrong footing Constantino for the finish.
The treble is still on for those in red. And it's their Thomas James, their leading goal scorer, who sends their fans into ecstasy. Now, Olympic with Reeve up the other end. Good challenge by Ivan Pavlak, who is taking a while to get up to his feet as well. So final 10 minutes are going to be lively, Steve.
Yeah, game on now. Game on now. Thomas James has been relatively quiet, but he got into the penalty area. He got surrounded by Olympic players a few minutes ago. He just looked like he might be about to ignite the jet engines, and then up he comes and he gets the equaliser, that at this stage, with 10 minutes to go, 11 minutes to go plus stoppage time, we might be heading towards extra time and penalties.
It's anyone's guess as to what could happen from here. Olympic with Gianpaolo with the corner, swings it in. It bounces around the penalty area. Down on the edge of the box and a free kick in a dangerous position. Was that Bobolas or Magic who was in there?
It was Bobolas that was fouled, yeah. And right on the edge of the box. I mean, these are just silly free kicks to give away. He's going nowhere. He's actually got his back to goal, running towards the far stand, really. But they've now put themselves under pressure and give Olympic an opportunity to regain the lead if they've got the quality.
A couple of minutes ago, Dom Gianpaolo was stretching his legs as if he was going to struggle. Now they need him to find something in that trusty right foot.
Yeah, burst of adrenaline. I mean, if he can score, of course, against his old club, he'd be absolutely delighted. But
here he is, Dom Gianpaolo, lining it up. Sam Brown organising his wall. It's Gianpaolo. Can he get it up and down? Dom Gianpaolo over the wall and just too high, much to the delight of the Canberra FC throngs.
Yeah, it's probably for an attempt that you want to try and get to dip into the goal. He's probably a little bit too close to goal, but interestingly, FC dropped the player back onto the goal line, and immediately Michael John went in there. But that, never on target, never troubling Sammy Brown.
Didn't threaten at all, did it? Could be in for a long night, Steve.
Did I tell you I had to leave? No.
Tomorrow. 10 minutes plus stoppage time, plus possibly extra time still to go, and it's fitting that these two teams that have hardly been separated all season are fighting to the very end here at Deakin Stadium. McLaughlin plays the ball on the floor, and Pavlak sweeps it to Lamb, is the force with those in red. James brought down by Calabria, free kick to Canberra FC.
Be careful, I think he's one in the book, isn't he?
Let me check my list. He is. Josh Calabria does have the old slice of cheese next to his name, as they say.
Funny, innit? You say something out of turn, you get a yellow card, you kick somebody, and it's not the second one.
But you have to send him off then.
Yeah, I know.
Pavlak with his free kick, Steve. What can he do? Swings it in. Good-looking one, too. And Constantinu came and got fist to it. Waters plays it off the heels of Jordan Lamb. Sure that's not one they've trialled. Good ball to James. Intelligent movement. Swings it in and cleared at the near post by Magic. James once more. He's buzzing now. Waters with a little clip. Not enough pace. Constantinu not releasing quite as quickly as he did earlier.
No, and I think it's a good move. He just needs to let them get out, let them get into positions where they might win first and second ball.
Vidica challenging with Pratashina. Free kick to the young Canberra FC player. 8 minutes plus stoppage time. Time ticking away. Is the momentum swung towards Canberra FC?
It's slightly, but it's still too close to call. Still too close to call. They've certainly, in the last 10 minutes leading up to the equaliser, applied the pressure and deservedly got themselves a goal.
Waters challenges with Stricker. Comes out on top of that battle. Doesn't with the one with McLaughlin. Pratashina. Waters challenged by Reeve. Brunskill. It's been a pretty good final, all things considered. Mensah wins a header, looks for Danning. Back heels down the line now. Has Pavlak got the pace to keep it in? The answer is no.
But since they've sort of gone to a 3 at the back and they've pushed Danning wide, it's like a 3-4-3 or a loose 3-4-3. Danning's come into the game more. Waters has come into the game a little bit more. Thomas James has got the equaliser. You started to see a real push towards the end of the 90 minutes by Canberra FC.
They say you've got to lose one to win one. I'm not sure Canberra FC meant losing 4 in a row from 2013 to 2016. But if they do win this grand final, it'll be the first one that they've snapped up since 2011.
Well, they're probably
long time between drinks for a club of this size.
Yeah, they wouldn't have been happy with that lack of success.
Canberra Olympic, of course, still have plenty to say about that. It's 1-1. Pradeshina looking for the 1-2. Got it back, but not quite how he wanted it. Vidica finds Calabria. Stricker. Mensah challenging with him. And Stricker very cleverly buys his team the foul.
But arguably, as he's gone out of the game, Stricker, FC have come into it. And he's been quiet in the last 10.
Well, those early changes, the force changes.
Yeah.
Tim Boblesov and Nick Popovic as well.
And then Dominici as well in the second half. I mean, it's got to take it out of you, doesn't it?
Added to the absence of Daniel Corbataldo and Robbie Catanach. Also remember, of course, FC are without Michael Tarazi. Here's Gianpaolo. Reeve looks for McLaughlin. Asks a lot of Tommy McLaughlin, and he does well. Here's Pavlak, though. Skips away from Reeve. And runs it out of play. Pavlak scoops it forwards. James in the challenge with Nick Bobolis, wins himself a free kick.
Yeah, and it was a push, no need for it.
Climbing from Nick Bobolis, wasn't it? On his back.
Yep.
Not allowing FC's goal scorer to get off the grounds. 25 in all comps for James this season. He'd be pleased with that.
Oh, it's a great return. A great return. I mean, he hasn't played in every game. You know, he missed the last game of the season when they won 2-0 at O'Connor. And he may have missed games or bits of games earlier on as well. So to get 25 goals.
Here's Waters. Got one in the FFA Cup as well, didn't he, here against Broadmeadow Magic?
Yeah, got him off to a great start, didn't he?
His space for Pradeshina. Brings it down. Fires it across. Appeal for handball. Force for Waters. Is it going to come to James on the far post? James shoots. James scores again. Thomas James with what could be a massive goal for Canberra FC. He set his sights. He fired it in. The treble looms large.
Yeah, you can't get a better time to score, that's for sure. 3 minutes to go plus injury time. And Thomas James, the man for all seasons, steps up again and puts the FC in charge of this game. I think Angelo Constantino, as we see the replay, be a little disappointed with his part in it because he's beaten at his near post. But Thomas James, you just can't keep the man down.
Fantastic finish from Thomas James. The flare goes off to the right of us. A big, big moment in the game. Now Canberra Olympic have it all to do. Can they find a way back into the contest?
And you know, you've got to have some sympathy. The early substitutions, the disruption to their starting 11 is obviously starting to take its toll. And FC are finishing strongly.
Sam Brown just scoops it up. They've got 3 minutes plus stoppage time to see this one out. Up towards Mensah, who wins the header.
And now it's see it out, no mistakes, safety first, keep the ball forward, and a great come from behind. A lot of character. They've never ever beaten this team.
You could never write them off, can you? Here's Stricker. He made the run in. It was unlucky.
It was, because if he'd got the touch the other way, I think MJ's in.
Swung up towards Bobolis, who heads it forward. Danning wins it. Here's James. He's on a hat-trick, of course. Thomas James, and he's buzzing, skipping his way past challenges, looking for Mensah. Couldn't quite find him. Angelo Constantinou will pick it up, and he will roll it out and try and get his team going. Calabria scoops it up towards Michael John. He's not going to get on the end of that. And Sam Brown will take plenty of time. There's 2 minutes plus stoppage time to go.
No, last time we were here, we got late goals, so I'm not counting it out yet.
We've had drama aplenty throughout the season. We've had drama today. Of that, there is no doubt. Here's Jordan Lamb heading towards the corner. Josh Calabria trying to steal the ball off him. He needs to get something, and again there's a challenge from Calabria, and the decision is corner. I'm sure there'll be no rush to take this from those in red.
Not sure that it wasn't a foul anyway. But the corner to be taken, and Calabria doesn't risk the ire of the referee.
Well, Matt Waters is wandering across to take it. If he walks any slower, he'll be in next week, won't he? You can't blame him.
No.
We're into the final 60 seconds of the season. In terms of local football, of course, we've got National Final Series to look forward to next week. And women's competition still going. It's all about the MPL here, and 2-goal hero Thomas James. Lamb. He'll take it back to the corner. Calabria nibbling away at his heels. Trying to win the ball back for Olympic, but it's an FC throw, and whereas Matt Gerbisher was running to take these earlier, I doubt he'll be anywhere near the vicinity right about now.
You don't need a long throw to get it to the corner flag, do you? Not from there.
Not from that range. I think I could make it from there. James will take it. Pranashina wants it, and he's going to get it. We got 10 seconds plus stoppage time. All eyes will be on fourth official Adam Powers to see what he puts up on that board. It's going to say 4 minutes. 4 minutes of stoppage time between Canberra FC and a clean sweep of the board here in Canberra. Mensah wins a header. James is in behind here. Thomas James on a hat-trick. Denied by Angelo Constantinou.
And that's a save that just keeps them in the game, because that was game, set, match had that gone in the back of the net. But what a great save from Constantinou. And how good was the run from James.
Canberra FC fans preparing to party unless Olympic have something in their locker in these final 4 minutes. We've played about a minute of stoppage time. Olividica comes across. He's got a decent long throw on him. Josh Calabria's running in to the penalty area late. Thrown in. Is there late drama for those in blue? It's just smacked clear. Angelo Constantinou's going to have to come and take this throw, you'd think. Either that or Nick Bobolas will get on with it. They'll need to do something soon. Miscommunication at the back, and Stricker is bundled out of it by Daniel Subasic. We're going to see a change here for SC. Well, the referee won't let it go. It's Vidica to Stricker. Looking to find a way to get his team into it. That ball stays in play. It's smashed up front towards James. He's on his own here. Thomas James, does he go for the hat-trick? Does he go for the corner? James racing towards the penalty area. Got brought down by Bobolas. That's cynical. That will be a card
For
Nick
penalty
Bobolas. I think it was outside the area. It's a yellow card for Nick Bobolas.
It must have been just outside the area, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. And certainly deserving of a yellow card.
That's what you want from him in striker. He scored 2 goals and he's won himself a free kick, and this is going to kill precious seconds.
If nothing else, I mean, if they decide to go for goal, and here we go.
Just on the edge, I think, right there.
Yeah, good decision, Gary Vanderberg again. And quite rightly goes to the pocket.
Well, will Thomas James go for goal and crown it and get the crowning glory?
Why not?
Why not at this stage?
Yeah.
Indeed.
I mean, he won't want to be giving possession back to Olympic, but there's plenty of numbers back.
It's a tough angle. But James
Put it over the top, it just wastes as much time, doesn't it?
stick it in the basketball court behind the ground. I don't think these Canberra FC fans will care, will they?
Nope.
And why would they? They've seen their team this season win everything that's put before them. They're so close. Here's James from the free kick. Fizzes it towards goal, but nowhere near target. Not that he cares. I don't think he's that bothered. Constantinou needs to get on with it quickly. He needs a blue shirt to win this, but it's going to be Gerbisher with the skipper's header. James and Calabria clash. Calabria concedes a free kick. Thomas James happy just to walk away from it. Josh Calabria with a frustration there. Time ticking away for those in blue, for Frank Keisha and his Canberra Olympic sides.
And in the 20s, we saw the team that went behind first come back and win, and we've seen it again in the...
Well, we haven't seen it at all this season between these two teams. As I mentioned earlier, the team that scores first usually wins.
Yep.
It was 2 games apiece in the 5-game series between them, but all the trophies have been here at Deakin Stadium. And at the moment, the grand final trophy, thanks to 2 goals from the man who has his hands on the ball at the moment, Thomas James. Looks like the third one will be coming here as well. Matty Gerbisher will launch this to the corner. Mensah.
He'll get his bulk in the way of this. He'll take some shifting.
Calabria is battling away trying to win it. He's done well, but it's back to Mensah. Brushes off the challenge into the area. Still going, Mensah.
Once one himself.
Brilliantly played. James sweeps it across and Waters was on his heels, unfortunately, for FT. Pavlak wants it. Time must be up now. We're well into the 4 minutes. Waters again. Pavlak. Ivan Pavlak. He's just run it out of play, but referee Gary Vandenberg will look at his watch again. The whistle will move to the vicinity of his lips. There cannot be long left. Constantinou forward towards Wiedeke, wins the header. Lamb with the pieces. Another glance at the watch from Vandenberg. Lamb just smashes that down towards Deacon Shops. And the final whistle goes. 1-0 down, 2-1 up. They have swept the board. A treble for those in red. Canberra FC, the dominant force in the national capital. And they have turned this on their head thanks to 2 goals from their English imports. Steve, incredible scenes. And probably the man that we thought might be the deciding factor has turned out to be so.
Perhaps not in the way we expected, but certainly he's been the difference between the two sides tonight. He's been quiet for most of the night and really only came into the game late in the second half, and when he pinched the equaliser, as you said in the call, he started to buzz and he was on fire from that moment on. But I think the turning point in the game came when, 1-0 down. Tactically, the McCaw boys got it right and they shifted to the 3 at the back, pushed people forward, started to apply pressure in the final third, and have eventually got the rewards. And Thomas James, whether he's in the game or not, cannot be left alone. And for his first goal, he's beaten Constantinou after a wonderful run. For the second goal, he's put it in at the near post, wrong foot in the keeper again. So all credit to the winners. Valiant attempt by the losers, given the circumstances, losing players left, right and centre to injury. But a great final, and there is no doubt about it that the best team in Canberra this year is Canberra FC.
League champions, Federation Cup winners, grand final winners. Everything that they could win, they have won. They'll start next season with the Charity Shield as well to try and add to that trophy cabinet. That was won by Canberra Olympic, of course, earlier in the season. Today it's all about those in red, though. But we spare a thought for Frank Casey, whose plans were thrown out the window with those injuries to players. That's what grand final football is about, though. You need to overcome those kind of problems and issues, and it's those in red that have done so today.
Absolutely. I mean, you've obviously taken some risks with Bobolas and Popovic going in, perhaps slightly underdone. We saw the strapping on Timmy Bobolas. He clearly was carrying injuries into the game, and he hasn't been able to see it out. In fact, they've lost him really early, and that meant that the back 4 had to be reorganised. And then, of course, Popovic went down with what we think is a rib injury, and that affected the front 4. So, in all aspects of the game, Frank Casey has been handicapped by the loss of players through injury. One of his better players on the night, Stephen Dominici, then went off in the second half, which didn't help. But that shouldn't take anything away from Canberra FC, who, having gone behind in the major semi-final, fought back to make a game of it, having gone behind here again in the final, with that never-say-die attitude that they have come from behind, snatched it 2-1. Congratulations to them.
They certainly deserved to be the best team in Canberra on the balance of what they've done. They've got it all to do again next week. They can't really get too involved in the celebrations tonight. They welcome Campbelltown City here next week, the champions of South Australia. I'm sure there's a lot of people from Adelaide and Campbelltown watching this today, having a look at this Canberra FC team, and of course how their coach will be looking at it going, how do we stop this fella, for Thomas James, who's scored now 26 goals in all competitions this season, and he'll be looking to add to his tally next week. But without getting too far ahead of ourselves, Steve, they're no mugs, are they, Campbelltown? They've got a hell of a side.
No, Campbelltown are very, very strong. And I mean, they beat Adelaide City in the last round of the competition to go 5 points clear themselves. Unfortunately for them, and I'm sure if my information's correct, their leading goal scorer broke his leg in that game, so he won't be travelling with them. But they do have a side that's got lots of quality in it, lots of A-League experience, and they will be a real test for Canberra FC next week. Has Canberra Olympic have been today?
Canberra Olympic certainly been a test for them today. They've been a test for them all season, to be fair. They've been the closest side to them. Frank Casey's going to have some work to do in the summer to reorganise his team and try and wrest these trophies back that his team have been dominant in the last couple of seasons. Canberra FC, as I mentioned, hadn't won a grand final since 2011. They'd lost 4 on the spin. They'll be happy to get back amongst the trophies again. They've done everything they possibly could this season and more. Paul Makel in his debut season. Hell of a season for a new coach, isn't it?
How do you top that?
Well, I don't know. You tell me, Steve.
He's probably got to win the FFA Cup proper.
It's probably one of the most demanding clubs in the competition, though, isn't it? This kind of success is expected here, isn't it?
It is indeed. I mean, there's certainly no mercy given to coaches that don't succeed. I mean, you can be the best team in the competition at this club and still not retain your job. It's happened in the past. But there is no doubt that Paulo McCaw, Danny McCaw and all the staff at Canberra FC have got this club buzzing again, and that's frightening prospect for the rest of the competition as we look forward to 2019. Campbelltown might just give us an indication of where we stand as a local football community. We saw the Newcastle, I think it was Broadmeadow, come down and touch us up a little bit. But I'm expecting that on the back of a good win here, that FC will give a good account of themselves next week.
Season that started with us at McKellar Park, way back when. Belconnen versus Gungahlin United. We enjoyed it, Steve. We enjoyed every minute of it, really, to be honest. It's been a great season here in terms of the men's competition. Just to let you know, the women's isn't done yet. We've got preliminary finals tomorrow, Canberra United Academy versus Canberra FC, and the grand final next week as well. But in terms of men's NPL, it's been a fantastic season, hasn't it? We've seen some great clubs return to the fore, like Canberra FC. We've seen Canberra Olympic, as we expected, push on. We've seen the rise of resurgence of Tuggeranong United. We've seen Woden Western look very good this season. There's huge amounts to look forward to heading into next season already.
Well, I think even the teams that finished towards the bottom of the league were competitive all year. The Final Four wasn't decided until the last game of the season. The champions weren't decided until the last game of the season. The Rhinos, the Riverina Rhinos, showed amazing levels of improvement this year and was a lot stronger in the first grade. Even Monero, I think we're competitive and can look forward to some sort of improvement next year. So it's been a great competition, a great league.
Steve, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you alongside me this season for this call. It's been a pleasure to have you alongside me for the grand final as well. Thanks to Nick on the camera and Leon on all the replays and everything here at Bar TV Sports. We'll leave you with a presentation out here on the field. Thanks very much for your company throughout this season. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow for the women's. In the grand final here, red is the colour. Thomas James was the man. His 2 goals in the second half overturned the one from Nathan Magic in the first half. It's a treble for Canberra FC. It's everything they could possibly want. The final score, Canberra Olympic 1, Canberra FC 2.
Next, we'd like to invite the captain of Olympic to come up and say a few words and collect their medals.
Very good. I've enjoyed the show as well. Maybe we can do that first of all, congratulations, Cameron Deacon. You've got a fantastic season. Unbelievable. Got the treble. Congratulations. To our boys, look, it wasn't our year. The next year. To the committee, to the fans, thank you. Just come on, boys.